This is Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily with Andrew Hustler Paterson and Michael Remis.
What is up, everyone? Happy Friday and happy Bomber game day. Welcome to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Huss and Reem with you for a very busy show today. We'll dive into tonight's big one at Tim Hortons Field for the Bombers and the Ticats. Marshall Ferguson joins us from the Hammer. And then speaking of the Hammer, Jeff Hamilton himself will join us. Now, we'll certainly be talking about the game. We'll also, unfortunately, be talking about the passing of Ted Gavaya heading into tonight's game. I believe it was late yesterday that he passed and lost his battle with cancer at the age of only 55 years old. Ted, of course, was such a big part of building the championship era here in Winnipeg in this 5 years of trips to the Grey Cup, and finally earned himself his own general manager's job in the Canadian Football League with the Hamilton Tiger Cats, and certainly did a good job at picking up some impact players from Winnipeg and putting together a team that is now in first place. But tonight's game was supposed to be the Team Ted game, where his former team, his current team came together to support him in his fight against cancer. And now, unfortunately, there will be many heavy hearts on both sides of the sideline and in the stands tonight, remembering Ted as opposed to supporting him in his battles. So we'll hear from Mike O'Shea on that coming up in just a moment. But there, as you can see on it, this was promoted as the Team Ted night to support Ted Gavaya, and horrible news put out by the Ticats this morning that Ted Gavaya has passed. The game will go on tonight. A huge game for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, who have BC and Edmonton right on their tails, and of course a big one for the Ticats as well, as they look to really solidify their grip on first place in the Eastern Division. A little bit later on, we'll get to the Jets young stars that are out in Montreal this weekend, and Dan Fink will be taking care of duties, calling the games, I believe, from Montreal. You can watch those games on winnipegjets.com tomorrow night. Sell-out crowd expected at the Bell Center for the Jets, and the Habs prospects should be something. So we'll look forward to having Dan join us from Montreal a little bit later on in the program. And then as we get ready for marbles, we'll hit the Coolbet lines, and my pal Jake Bolin Moss is going to come by. We'll take a look at the NFL slate on the weekend. And if you want more in-depth on the National Football League, make sure to go to the YouTube page for those of you that missed it live this morning. The latest edition of WST Winners, our Week 2 picks against the spread, our favorite player props, our touchdown scores, and we're cooking up a bunch of parlays. So we'll let you know what's waiting for you at Coolbet and get some thoughts on some of the big games in the National Football League this week before we get to a marble race to finish up the festivities. Huge thanks to the sponsors that make the show happen each and every day. So great to be working with the HSC Foundation again. HSCMillionaire.com is where you want to go to grab those tickets before the first fall and early bird deadline of September 25th. Also want to thank Coolbet, Princess Auto, of course, Rolly's Transfer and St. Vital Dental Center, Canadian Club, Manitoba Battery, our friends over at Aikens Lake, F Apparel, Royal Sports, Boston Pizza, Little Brown Jug, Breezy Bend, the Assiniboia Downs, and we'll also get to a Why Not question of the day for not AutoCorp, but Waverly and McGillivray, and of course, fan feedback from fansfirst.ca. Let's get the show on the road. Hopefully smooth sailing today for the CTO, Michael Remis. What's up?
Yeah, we're good today. I asked ChatGPT the problem, which I should have done right away. Was after a lot of troubleshooting, and they solved it for me last night. We're here. So
Knowing you, I thought that would have been the first thing that happened before anything. A quick consultation with WST advisor, Mr. C GPT.
I think I had to do a bunch of troubleshooting steps to narrow down. Okay, I did this. Didn't work, and then they said, "Oh, it's probably this," and they were right. We're here. This is awesome. So yeah, great to be back on YouTube.
Yes, yeah. Apologies for everyone that missed the live show yesterday. We were able to quickly pivot and do the entire show live with video on X and Facebook, but we didn't have the opportunity to do our usual. It was tough to get the chat and our fan feedback from fans first, so it's business as usual today. Things have been rectified. Podcast was not affected yesterday, but we are back and ready to go. Listen, there's lots that we want to get to, Remo, right out of the gate. But just really, really sad news this morning about Ted Gavaya. I was really looking forward to this game for a multitude of reasons, but also I thought that, with Ted having to basically step away day to day from the team earlier on, but still, from all the stories we've heard, working so hard, coming out to practice after finishing chemo treatments. I mean, it was kind of an inspiring story for a guy that loved the game and loved the job that he had and the opportunity he had with the Hamilton Tiger Cats. And, we've seen Mike O'Shea, Buck Pierce, certainly the entire Tiger Cat organization wearing the Team Ted shirts throughout the year. And this, the matchup of his former team and his current team was supposed to be a real day of everyone coming together to support Ted. And unfortunately, everyone will be coming together, and I'm sure it'll be a big part of the broadcast as well, to remember Ted Gavaya tonight after his passing.
Yeah, I'm very shocked and saddened to see the release put out the Bombers and a statement from President and CEO Wade Miller. They said his passion, talent, and dedication helped shape our championship success. Thoughts with his loved ones and the CFL communities remember his lasting legacy. And yeah, this was supposed to be a game to rally behind him with his current team and former team. And I mean, for it to happen this morning, to have the Team Ted game and he's not going to be there. Really sad. I mean, only 55 years old, Huss. It's really there's cancer. It sucks.
Yeah, no, it's listen, everyone's been touched by it, unfortunately, and but this was something that had the entire Canadian Football League family really supporting Ted, and as I said, it's shocking to lose him so quickly and so early, but everyone on both sides will certainly be taking a moment of silence to remember Ted. And I think that that battle with cancer and supporting cancer charities and others that are going through the battle will be the real focus of tonight, outside of a very big 2 points on the line for both the Ticats and the Bombers. Listen, we're going to talk about the game coming up, but Mike O'Shea did speak about Ted Gavaya, working with him, his incredible contributions to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and more. Here's a little bit of Mike O'Shea speaking of the just recently passed Ted Gavaya, the now former general manager of the Hamilton Tiger Cats.
Yeah, I mean, he was a pillar in the organization that helped us get to where we wanted to get to organizationally, right? Him and Danny were like first hires for the scouting department, right? And they've done a great job. I mean, Ted's fingerprints are still all over our roster.
Chris Kolinkowski was saying, I'm a Ted guy. Like, my career might have been over if it wasn't for Ted. And he was saying that there's several other guys on the team that kind of feel the same way.
Yeah, Ted was excellent at always making sure we understood what guys could do, right? And the intangibles that were important to our club, he fully understood and wanted to gather people like that. you turn on I'd turn on the tape, turn on the cut-ups to watch U Sports players, and invariably you would see Ted on the sideline, walking up and down the sideline. And that always made me feel good that when he gave us information, there was always going to be a nugget that somebody else didn't have, because he was going to be right there within earshot when a guy made a play or didn't make a play. And he was going to hear the conversation the kid had with the coach or with his teammates when somebody else made a good play or when somebody else made a bad play or when they made a good play. He was going to, at some point, that was going to come from the conversation. I was on the sideline and I could put on the tape and there's Ted, and that's continued. I mean, he's a great scout. He's done a great job building Hamilton, and he'll always, be a great scout.
As this game goes, kicks off tonight, Remo, there'll be, speaking of Ted beforehand, and I'm sure the television broadcast will have plenty on this. But what's going to be really interesting and really sad, on top of, losing Ted, is just how his fingerprints are all over both teams in this football game. I mean, certainly there's some new players this year that are with the club that, were not here during so many Bombers that have been here for more than a season, many, probably most, would have been scouted and, in some ways acquired with Ted. And then the job that he's done with Hamilton speaks for itself. And part of the reason why I think the Bombers are struggling at times the way they are is because a few of the players that were Bombers that followed Ted to the Hammer for this season.
Yeah, that was the headline, coming into the year for Hamilton, just how many players they had from the Bombers, led by Kenny Lawler, the big name among those. But, you can go down the roster, and yeah, this was certainly a fitting night to have Team Ted night with the current team and former team, and Bombers, going to 5 straight Grey Cups. And we talked in the offseason, what a loss it was. From him from the front office. So this is, again, I don't know how else we can express it, but this was O'Shea, talking about it just a couple days ago, and he's not going to be a part of it.
Yeah, no, so anyways, heavy hearts and, our thoughts with, the Ticats organization, the Gavaya family, and people within the Bomber organization that are feeling, very heavy right now with the passing of Ted Gavaya. Of course, Kenny Lawler is going to be front and center tonight, as he's been all season long. Our pal, the commish, Taylor Allen, sat down with Kenny Lawler to talk about moving on from Winnipeg to Hamilton. And, folks can read the entire piece in the Winnipeg Free Press. It's interesting that Lawler says it didn't come down to money. It came down to feeling disrespected, that the Bombers signed Dylan Mitchell before him and only gave Lawler an offer one day before free agency. Also mentioned he was frustrated that the team blocked his work permit, which stopped him from running youth football camps in Winnipeg. This is interesting. There's often sour grapes when guys leave from one team to go to the others. But I will say this. He talks about how much Hamilton is supporting he and his family situation. I think if we are being real here and look back to Kenny Lawler's time here in Winnipeg, I think it's pretty rich not to say that he wasn't supported by the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, because the team did carry him through a very serious situation where he was charged with a DUI here, stood behind him, brought him back. And listen, the guy is an incredible receiver, but I do think there's maybe a little bit more to it. And, I'm not sure that the organization felt that they could really count on Kenny Lawler this year. And I'm sure that played into part of it. But does seem like there's a few sour grapes on Lawler's side. And that could be bad news for the Bombers tonight when it comes to what happens on the field. I'll admit that. Yeah,
Kenny Lawler, revenge game. And the Bombers have brought in Jamario Houston to make his first start to go up against Lawler, or Tim White or Keandre Smith, whatever great receivers. And yeah, I read this article with Taylor Allen, and I think the Bombers had they've kind of made it their process that when they decide to move on from a guy, they don't really let them know. But we saw that with Andrew Harris, where he kind of I don't say ghosted him, but they never really said, hey, we're not bringing you back. He just didn't get a contract offer, and that was his cue. And I think their way of telling him was going ahead and signing Dylan Mitchell, and they had a decision to make, Dalton Schoen or Kenny Lawler. And they went with Dalton Schoen, and they thought Dylan Mitchell would be able to make an impact. And unfortunately for them, that really has not happened. I will say, I read this article with Taylor Allen. I'm seeing comments in the chat that Kenny didn't feel supported by the Bombers and felt supported by the Ticats. As you said, they stood by him and helped him get through a tough legal situation when he had a DUI. I don't know how much more they could have done for him to help him continue playing football here, and for him to say they didn't support him at all. I think that you're just getting one side there, Huss.
Yeah, it's a little bit rich, and I think it is a little bit short-sighted and not really looking at the body of work that the organization did and what how they were there for him and really stood up. I mean, it's not easy to say, yeah, our player just got popped for a DUI. I mean, that doesn't really go over well with the fans in a particular city, and they did stand by him, paid his price, but worked on getting him back into Canada, all of those things. So, as I said, I mean, it doesn't always work out when someone leaves to go to greener pastures or elsewhere that, they look back entirely fondly on their time. Certainly did some great things on the field, but he'll be on the other side of the lineup tonight. The guy that's going to be leading the Winnipeg Blue Bombers into battle tonight is Chris Streveler, who is 2-0 as a starter this year, had that great game in week 1 against the BC Lions, and then less so in the win over Toronto, but a win is a win. Sure would be nice to get a couple kick returns and a defensive touchdown to help the cause tonight. I have a feeling that won't be the case, and they'll need to do more offensively. But Chris Streveler will be the guy with Zach Caleros on the one-game IR. This is for Remis. Strev getting ready for the start. Talked about how he's feeling heading into another start tonight in the Hammer.
Sorry, my thing is being stupid. 1 sec.
I'm excited. Yeah, I'm excited. Any opportunity to get out there with the boys is exciting. So I had a good couple days of prep, another short week, and sometimes it's better that way, man. Just get into the game and get rolling. So I think we're all pretty excited.
Can you describe what excited means to you? Like literally the day before the game here. What excited feels like for you? Are you twitchy? Are you just in your book? Like, what are you?
Yeah, there's a lot of review and study and kind of just putting last minute pieces together. I definitely have a process for that. And for me, I mean, you guys probably know at this point, I'm a pretty high energy guy. So for me, it's just about how do I dial that back and save my energy. That way, come game time, I can use it in a productive way. It's always been my thing. Even since high school, my coach was you got to calm down. You're way too hyped before games. So I've always just tried to keep myself as calm as possible and save my energy for when it's time to play.
Could you play not hyped, though? I always feel like you should just be in your natural state.
100%. I mean, I'm saving my energy. That way I have energy for the game. So, quarterback's a unique position because there's a lot of thinking and decision-making involved. So you want to find that blend of, being able to be under control and thinking, but still, be myself, which is a high-energy, enthusiastic person. And that's how I lead, too. So, I'm just going to be myself, and that's the only person I know how to be.
Streveler in good spirits, such an easy guy to cheer for, but a lot of pressure on his shoulders because the Winnipeg Blue Bombers need some wins right now at 6-6 with everything so tight in the West when it comes to the playoff picture. They're going up against the first place Hamilton Tiger Cats. Here's Strev on who they're facing tonight at Tim Hortons Field.
Well, they run around and they make plays. I think they've got a really good secondary. I think they do a good job up front. And like I said, they make plays. They take the ball away, and they show you different looks too. So that's something we've been dialed in on this week and making sure we have a good plan versus that stuff. So ultimately, what I always say is it comes down to us, and I think we do a great job prepping for everything we might see and having a great game plan. And ultimately, it's about us executing the game plan.
I know you were asked this earlier in the week, Chris, but what is the value of having all the workload leading up to a game like this?
Yeah, it's just great to get the reps with the guys and getting to, rep all those plays. And like today, getting the walkthrough reps of like, okay, hey, we didn't rep this, like let's hit this so we get the timing of that. Just getting those reps and actually getting to have those conversations with the guys. I think everyone knows me and Zach have a great relationship, and so I stay extremely tapped into those conversations and all those reps, even when I'm not taking the actual reps. But it's just a sense of confidence and, timing and execution when you're actually taking those reps in practice.
All right. Well, Streveler is going to have a lot on his mind and on his hands tonight with the Hamilton defense and guiding this Blue Bomber offense. But again, it is his third start of the season, 2-0 heading in. But Streveler was asked about his ability to command the huddle.
I just being myself, man. Like I said, I'm a high energy guy, and so when I step into the huddle, I try to bring that same energy and enthusiasm. And I've said it in a couple other interviews. I'm a quarterback, but I've always just thought of myself as a football player. So I think, and I hope that's how the guys view me, as just a guy who, yes, I am playing quarterback, but I'm willing to do whatever it takes to help the team win. We've seen it playing receiver, throwing blocks, whether I got to run, maybe it's facilitating the ball through the air, whatever that is, that's what I'm willing to do. And that's kind of just my leadership style. So that's what I try to bring when I step in the huddle.
Coming into Hamilton with a real positive attitude is Chris Streveler. The one thing that this team needs to do is take care of the football. The turnovers have killed Winnipeg, and certainly the picks in the Banjo Bowl were a big part of the Bombers coming up on the wrong end of the ledger. One more from Strev. He talks about what the offense needs to do to reduce the turnovers that have been so problematic this season.
I think it's just emphasizing it and just making sure we're honed in on details. That's what it comes down to, man. This is a game of inches. So, an inch here, an inch there, whatever that is, it might not go your way. So just honing in on the details, making sure we have great communication, alignment pre-snap, and all those things. And then just when you hone in on those things and you know where you're supposed to be and what you're supposed to do, that stuff starts to clean itself up.
Do you think Kenny and Wally have been talking to some guys on defense this week saying, Chris likes to do this, likes to do that? Do you think they've been sharing some of your secrets, or what do you think?
I don't know. I mean, everyone's seen me play football, so everyone knows who I am. I was literally talking to Wally on the way over here, so I'm going to see him tonight. So I'll probably give him a hard time about that and just see what he's been saying. So, it's such a small league. Everyone knows everyone. Again, that's where it comes down to just you have a game plan every week of how you want to attack a team and just going out and executing that.
We are so excited to be partnering up with the Health Sciences Center Foundation for the HSC Millionaire Lottery launch, folks, and tickets are now on sale. Of course, this is how you can help save lives at Manitoba's hospital, the Health Sciences Center, and become a millionaire. And tickets are on sale now at hscmillionaire.com. You can become Manitoba's newest millionaire with the grand prize draw. Win the all-Canadian dream, a luxury home in Manitoba or oceanfront in BC worth $1.5 million, or take $1.25 million in tax-free cash. Now, there's more early winners than ever before this year, which means get your tickets now. There's $340,000 in early draws, including the brand new Grey Cup bonus and the fall bonus right now. If you get your tickets before September 25th, you'll have the opportunity to choose from over $48,000 in prizes, or a 2026 Toyota RAV4, $40K in cash, $40,000 in Indigo travel vouchers, plus a $5,000 in cash. And of course, 2 winners of gas and groceries, $1,000 in Red River Co-op gift cards. It is for an unbelievable cause, Manitoba's hospital, and it is the biggest lottery of the year. So get your tickets now today, hscmillionaire.com. You can call as well, toll free, 1-855-999-5688. Or if you'd like to buy them in person, pop down to London Drugs, St. Vital Centre, or Red River Co-op food stores in Winnipeg and Selkirk. And again, hscmillionaire.com. You know what to do, folks. Hey, if you've got a move coming up this fall, holler at our friends at Rolly's Transfer. the experts in the business, the most trusted name in moving for over 60 years in Manitoba. Check out their website at rollies.com for all of their services and more on their story. But click on that request an estimate in the top right corner and put in the promo code WST for a special discount on moving services and moving supplies for Winnipeg Sports Talk listeners. And then let them know when you're planning on moving, where you're going to, and what you will be moving. And the friendly staff at Rollies will turn it around real quick and get you locked in for the white glove treatment that they are famous for now into their 7th decade. For all your moving needs, lean on the gang at Rollies, the most trusted name in moving in Manitoba. Find out more, request an estimate today over at rollies.com. Well, the kids are back at school. We're moving into fall, but have you forgot to see the dentist lately? Hey, listen, if you or your family need a new spot to go in to take care of all your dental needs, head on down to our friends at St. Vital Dental Center. Dr. Terry and his wonderful staff would love to take care of you, as they've been doing for generations of Manitobans, serving clients from 6 months to 99 plus with a full array of dental services, from cleanings and checkups all the way to procedures like dental implants. They do it all with a smile on their face, and they'll make your smile look better than ever before. Beautiful new facility, 167 St. Anne's Road, convenient free parking right behind the building. Find out more online and make an appointment at stvitaldental.ca. And make sure to tell them your boys at Winnipeg Sports Talk sent you. And hey, Bomber fans, there's still time to get your hands on that special edition, limited edition Blue Bomber label Canadian Club. Of course, Canadian Club is the official spirit of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers and the iconic Canadian whiskey since 1858. As the official spirit of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, they've got a special Blue Bomber bottle that is on shelves now at your local Manitoba liquor marts while supplies last. And while you're there, make sure to keep your eye out for the Canadian Club Club Pack, because we've got a little bit of more summery weather. Why not get the best drinks from the summer? The Canadian Club and Ginger Ale, the Citrus Smash, the Half and Half, all available in the Canadian Club Club Pack, along with the special edition Bomber bottle of Canadian Club at your local Manitoba liquor marts. Some CFL with one of the voices of the Canadian Football League on TSN, our pal Marshall Ferguson. Marsh, what is going on? It's great to have you on the program.
Yeah, it's good to be on with you guys. I was telling you just as we were getting ready to go here that my computer decided to die as I was completing my prep for Edmonton, Toronto, which is my assignment this week. So if I sound like a total idiot on the broadcast, it's because I'm doing everything by hand this week. I'd like to say it's an ode to Chris Cuthbert, who apparently did that every week, and I've seen some of CC's charts, and they're beautiful. But yeah, it'll be an adventure. I'm sure I'll be scrambling and looking for things because they aren't where they usually should be.
Yeah, well, you got the 4-pack of rulers from Staples, so you're set maybe for the rest of the season.
Yep.
Hey, Marsh, listen, before we get into Bombers, Ticats, and everything else, shocking news this morning of the passing of Ted Gavaya, the day of the Team Ted game of his former team, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and his current team, the first place Hamilton Tiger Cats. I know you're in and around the Hamilton area, being involved with the CFL as long as you have. You probably passed Ted more than once. I mean, just thoughts on just how sad of a day this will be, and your memories of a guy that will have his fingerprints all over tonight's game on both sides of the field.
Yeah, it's. I'd be lying if I said that I didn't immediately start crying when I got the news. Like I think so many people did, and this isn't. This isn't about me or anything like that. Like, I don't want to frame it as that. It's just like, I'm not best friends with Ted. I didn't call him every Christmas or birthday. You know what I mean? Like, I wasn't tight with him. However, you just heard Chris Streveler say a couple of minutes ago on your program that it's like, this is a small league and people know each other, and you run, every time you show up to the combine, it's the same group of people. Every time that you see somebody at the lobby of a hotel going into the Grey Cup, it's the same people. It's so I crossed paths with Ted a decent amount over the last decade while I've been covering the game. And I didn't know that he had been at McMaster previously. Like I wasn't well nuanced in the fact that like we had the same campus and all the rest. But for me, what, really upset me, I guess, about this was professional football innately is a game where people are trying to carve out advantages at all times, whether it be in conversation or, hey, have you heard what's going on with that guy's injury or whatever it is. I've talked to Ted so many times over the last decade, and it's never been anything other than talking about the game in the purest way. Like, oh, I like this guy and here's why, or, you know, like, why do you think this team does that? And it's like, there's a couple of specific examples that stick out for me of why I love getting to know Ted, and I'm so thankful that I had the chance to. And the first one is he was at a McMaster Waterloo game when Tyrell Ford was actually down with the Green Bay Packers, and Tyrell was on the sidelines, and Ted was the only CFL scout who was at that game. And he was just standing at the top of Ron Joyce Stadium at McMaster. And I got a chance to just kind of stand there for 2 hours with him and just watch the football game. And we were just talking ball for 2 hours and hanging out. And it wasn't, you know, a CFL, you know, I'm a broadcaster and he's a front office executive and it's just like, you know, just two dudes hanging out watching the game as it should be. So I'm super thankful for that afternoon and that memory, because we got to spend some quality one-on-one time. And then the other one was ahead of the 2019 Grey Cup when Winnipeg was getting set to end their Grey Cup drought. I'm like running across the field because I was doing national sideline reporting for Hamilton in that game, and Ted was down on the field. And as we were kind of running across, he said to me, like, stop. He's like, Marshall, come over here for a second. I'm like, yeah. He's like, why do you do what you do? And he was referring to me, like, you know, tracking every snap of every game and putting hours in that I don't get paid for all this stuff, and creating my own analytics before Pro Football Focus was around. And he was like, why do you do that stuff? What's the motivation? And I basically said, I went to university. I have an inquisitive mind. I took political science as my major. I like trying to figure stuff out. I have questions that I don't understand. And so I don't go in expecting to, well, I need to prove my answers right. I'm just going into this looking for an answer because I genuinely don't understand what's happening sometimes in games, and I use this information to data. I'll never forget, he just like didn't say a single thing, nodded at me, winked, and then made his way across the field to go to the bench. And it was just this like great sign of respect and approval, and I think it was one of those moments that allowed us to come together a little bit. But it's the last thing I'll mention on this, and I know I'm rambling forever, but how can you not? Because Ted, like, there's going to be a billion stories that are going to come out, and I hope Dwayne Ford tell stories about it tonight, because I know that they were close as well. And it's in the Hamilton Tiger Cats documentary series that they made, Made in the Hammer or whatever, that Stephen Brunt put together, which is amazing if people haven't seen it. It's
so good.
It's such great stuff. But there was a moment where when Devin Veresuk, the middle linebacker for the Tiger Cats, the second overall pick from this year's draft, gets the pick 6 in his first start at middle linebacker, the team, said, hey, rookie, he gets we want to give you the game ball and this and that, but there's a guy in this room who's got to get the game ball because his effort is even more impressive than yours. And they give Ted the game ball, and Ted says a couple of words, and he puts the ball up in the air, and he's like, this doesn't belong to me. This kid is the future of this franchise. And like the selflessness to be able to, as he's battling cancer and inevitably so close to the end that we didn't know, to give that football to Devin Veresuk, who ends up being, sadly, tragically, his only Hamilton Tiger Cat first round selection, right? At this point. So it's a bit of a legacy thing as well, that Devin is kind of like the stamp on the franchise of what Ted was bringing in and what Ted's vision was. And the fact that he was a U Sports guy through and through, that's so Ted. Like, Ted was so good at being able to understand the Canadian game at every level. So I actually had the thought as soon as I found out the news that I was almost thankful that I wasn't on the call tonight, because I can be a kind of an emotional person, and I think I would have a really hard time doing what those guys have to do in the booth tonight, trying to paint the picture for people when we all have personal relationships with tremendous people, and it breaks your heart to see one of them leave the earth. That's all.
Listen, that's incredibly well said, and appreciate, your stories. I mean, listen, everyone on both sides of the stadium tonight are going to be playing, I'm sure, with heavy hearts, and he'll be remembered. I'm sure there'll be plenty more of those stories that you mentioned on the broadcast coming up tonight. There is a football game to be played tonight, and Ted's current team, the Hamilton Tiger Cats, have put themselves in a pretty nice spot. It hasn't been pretty over the past month or so, Marsh, but they certainly do have the upper hand in the East right now, and the opportunity to really get a stranglehold on that with a win tonight. What are your thoughts of the Hamilton Tiger Cats going into tonight on top of the East, and the challenge ahead for the Bombers without their starting quarterback, Zach Collaros?
Yeah, first and foremost, I just hate to see Zach out. It's one of those things that I get frustrated a lot of the time when people say somebody is injury prone, and I mean, Lord knows I've had concussions. Heck, I've had a couple this year because, riding around and banging myself off all sorts of things. But it's like, Zach is not an injury-prone guy. He just gets put in bad situations, and innately that's why you make a bunch of money as a starting quarterback, because if you're really good at your job, you also put yourself in vulnerable situations, and it can be tough, right? So I hope that Strevy plays well. I love his game. I think it's been a little bit clunky with the Bombers offense this year at times when Chris has been in there. I think bringing back Ontario Wilson obviously should help a little bit of that, but losing Dalton Schoen is really, that's difficult as well for the second year in a row to go down that way. But yeah, my thoughts on Hamilton, to answer your question about this, is that I think we all expected that the Tiger Cats would be a dominant running game as of last week, right? No, I was calling that game in Montreal. I love Montreal's defense, have for a long time, but the fact that they had so many people wandering around in these stand-up defensive end situations and extra linebackers and personnel packages coming and going, and Hamilton was like, we're just going to punch you in the face and run you off the ball essentially because it was raining. I didn't see that coming because Hamilton hasn't had a lot of interest in running the football for the majority of this year, or if they have had interest, they haven't been able to do it. Scott Milanovic has had to get away from it. So, Bo Levi Mitchell obviously is the kind of the guy that's stirring the whole drink and everything. But if you end up having an offense that can be a little bit more balanced for Hamilton, that's going to be tough on Winnipeg because now you're playing the tendencies. And if I were watching film as a Winnipeg defender going into this game, I would be wondering who the real Hamilton Tiger Cats offense is that they're going to end up facing. Because the whole year it's been Bo slinging it around, getting his last reps in as the veteran quarterback where you don't know how many years he's going to be able to do this. And then all of a sudden you end up going into Montreal and running like crazy with Greg Bell, and he looks like he's just getting hot. But I think the great challenge is trying to play those tendencies and not giving up the explosive plays because Hamilton will blow the door off you at any given moment in a variety of different ways now.
Well, and that's the concern for the Bombers. Now, we are going to see Demario Houston get into the lineup for the first time this year. Although, Marsh, to be perfectly honest, I know the Bombers lost these last two games to Saskatchewan, but it's pretty hard to hang it on the defense with what they were able to do to Trevor Harris. And if you're looking for some optimism from a Bombers side of things, it's got to start with a defensive unit that continues to improve. And listen, they're going to need to play at a very high level if you want to keep Bo Levi Mitchell and that Hamilton Ticat offense in check.
Yeah, I think Tony Jones is a total stud. And the stats bear that out as well when you compare him across. Obviously, Micah Awe is just a total freak who's doing ridiculous things because he's in a scheme there in BC that allows him to make every single tackle humanly possible.
He almost has to with BC.
Yeah, and he's covering up, I think, innate flaws in their front and also injuries on the BC front. But Micah is playing on a different level completely this season. But Tony Jones, when you actually watch back games, in terms of being assignment sound and finding ways to positively influence a play, there's so many times when I've been watching Winnipeg this year where I think, man, if Tony Jones wasn't there, that play becomes an issue. But he kind of covers up some of those things as well, which you love in your middle linebacker. So I think the back end, it's not really to blame. Trevor Harris is a total assassin when it comes to picking people apart and knowing exactly how to do it systematically, right? So probably a bit of a sour taste having the last couple of weeks go the way that they did. But I also think that if you are in a situation for Winnipeg where you have everything in front of you to play for, there's still crossover at play, and the East is doing East stuff again, where everybody's going 500 against each other. It's if you get hot enough at the right time, Winnipeg could be doing whatever they want, right? So I think for me, the most important thing, the rock of everything that Bomber football has been in the last essentially 5 years, is anytime something goes poorly, Mike O'Shea gets the best out of his defense with timely turnovers, and they break your will with Brady Oliveira in the running game. That, to me, this is a game, and I know I just talked about Hamilton's running game, where Winnipeg's offensive line need to say, F this, F that, whatever the distractions are, whatever this, and all the different things that are floating around about the team and Zach and this. I would love to see Winnipeg play some bully ball. That would be the number one thing for me. And I know it's an easy request because, I don't have to blow anybody off the ball when I'm watching the game tonight, sitting around the campfire having a beer, but the reality is that has been the thing for Bombers football in this Grey Cup series of runs. And I'd love to see them get back to that tonight and hit. If Streveler decides to put his shoulder down into somebody and blow them backwards, it might fire up the entire roster and you might get this huge momentum swell. So I think there's a lot of possibilities in terms of message sending tonight for Winnipeg that basically says, like, okay, Zach's down, we're still here, stop counting us out, we'll find a way? Because that's been the thing that Michael Shea teams have done. They've always found a way.
You know, they're going to need to find a way with Chris Streveler, and they are 2-0 when he started this year. I mean, the two games look very different. In some ways, I think people, you know, with the performance in week 1 against BC, where he didn't really run the football, he passed for over 300 yards, it was somewhat of a revelation. Problem is, we haven't really seen that since. Certainly when he's come in relief after Zach Collaros has been knocked out of the game, and even the game against Toronto. I mean, they were fortunate because they got points in some other ways, which would work well tonight. Mix in a couple return touchdowns and a defensive touchdown. That can often help you win a football game. But, Marsh, from a quarterback perspective, and knowing the type of quarterback that Chris Streveler is, what does the focus need to be for the Blue Bomber offense outside of making sure you get Brady Oliveira going to help every other aspect of it? Just speak to the challenge of Chris Streveler coming in to replace Zach Collaros in a game that you know you're going to need to put up a significant amount of points to hang with the team like Hamilton.
Yeah, the most important thing, obviously, as you say, is getting Brady going, because if you don't get Brady going, if Hamilton's defense in the first quarter can shut down everything Oliveira's doing, then the rest of the playbook can't open up. And I'm not even saying like, oh, get the run going so you can do play action. Streveler gives you the ability where if you get Oliveira going, you can now put quarterback run in. Like, you can have package stuff. You can have jet sweeps. You can have quick screens that come off of those fake jet sweeps. Like, the whole thing is predicated on if Brady is setting the tone and getting 4, 5, 6 yards per carry, now we can open things up and they can really be the full effect of the Bombers offense. Outside of that, I think the thing that I've been intrigued by with Streveler this year, and it's almost like we have this like short memory, right? On, okay, well, Chris is back and he's this power runner that is just this running bull who's angry all the time, like he was back in 2019 before he left and bounced around and did all sorts of the NFL stuff. And we saw him going crazy with the Jets, and he's here with the Cardinals, and he's here. Reality is, I thought Streveler was more refined as a passer when he came back from the NFL because of what I had seen in the NFL. I think he might have just suited the NFL better than we all expected. Like, I don't think he's necessarily a better... I've talked to him this year about this, where he says, like, well, I was in the same locker room and I was working with guys in the quarterback room of, like, Aaron Rodgers and being with Kyler Murray and being with this quarterback coach and that quarterback coach, and we worked with them. And that stuff's all great, but there are still moments in games where you go, oh, man, I did not love the ball placement or the decision-making or the footwork's a little slow. You see kind of the old Streveler start to creep back in at times. I think he's got to avoid that, because the newer Streveler, the evolution of what he has done with his body and with his mechanics and with his mind and his processing and his pre-snap ability, that's really good. It just has to be more consistent. And I think that's the key for him, is finding a way to know that if they get themselves into trouble, let's say Bo Levi Mitchell comes out, throws 2 touchdowns in the first quarter, the Tiger Cats are all fired up because they're playing for Ted tonight, and. If Chris has to throw his way back into the game, you cannot put the ball in harm's way. And I feel like he's done that too often at times with this season, specifically in the relief efforts, right? But, I mean, there was a game that I saw, I believe it was when Ottawa was in Winnipeg, and I was calling that game on TSN, and I saw Streveler wandering around the sidelines, and he was doing the old, bounce the ball off the ground and kick it back to yourself, and then he's talking to the training staff, and then he's going to hang out with the O-line, and I was like, I said to somebody during the commercial break, I think our production team back in the truck, I was like, man, Streveler looks bored. I was like, he really wants to get in the game. Like, you can tell he's kind of chomping at it, where it's like, oh, man, like I have so much to give this team, and I want to give it more. He's got the chance.
I think we for a sec there.
Just had a weird thing, and now we've got him on the side. Hey, Marsh, if you can, maybe pop out and just pop back in, because I do want to get you a couple more things on tonight's game. And, of course, Marsh is going to be doing the Edmonton-Toronto game tomorrow, and, I mean, that should be a beauty. I mean, that's the shortest line of the week. Elks are 3.5-point dogs in Toronto to take on the Toronto Argonauts. But we got Marsh back, and Marsh, you were just finishing up on Streveler. And I'll tell you what, I am with you. Like, if the quarterback situation was different in Winnipeg, with maybe a more established quarterback outside of Terry Wilson, and I've long thought, or even with Zach Caleros healthy, I've long thought that they would be smart to get him involved a little bit more. I mean, it was great to see when he came in and he caught a couple passes, laid out a couple guys blocking. Like you said it, he is a football player. He said it himself, and it feels that way. And, there are some different ways I think, we could see him help the team. But tonight, it's about playing quarterback. And I'm with you. I think it's going to be a heavy dose of the run game, both from Oliveira, both from Streveler. And then we'll see what they can generate in the passing game. But as we mentioned before, it's going to need to be significant because the Hamilton Tiger Cats can sling it with the best of them. Quickly on this game that you're calling tomorrow, the quarterback situation in Toronto is incredible. I mean, Chad Kelly's sort of pushing to come back. Nick Arbuckle is playing as well as any quarterback in the league. I would say better than any quarterback in the league. Like, he had 800 yards and 6 touchdowns, no picks in his last 2 wins. What do you make of the Argos situation right now? Now that they're sort of off the mat, they're very much in it, and now have, to be honest, a problem that the Bombers would love to have, 2 quarterbacks that sort of have their case for starting.
I don't think we can hear.
That's weird. We don't have your audio on this. It's we popped out. Is that something, Remis, if you can check it out?
I'm trying to enable. I don't know.
Is he quick enable? He's looking great.
He's looking good.
The audio was kicked in. We'll try it again and see if he can come out. Just a quick update over on, we'll get to the NFL later on today's show and the Coolbet lines, but Bombers right now are 7.5-point dogs in this game tonight. You've got BC in the late game tonight, 9.5-point favorites. As I mentioned, tomorrow in the game that Marsh is going to be calling, 3.5 points is the spread for the Toronto Argonauts, and then Montreal and Saskatchewan going at it on the Sask is 8-point favorites. Yeah, unfortunately, I don't know whether they're going to be able to get Marsh back because something's gone with the audio. Again, poor Marsh has been handling and dealing with a lot of stuff. First a computer, now audio on the phone. We'll give it one more chance. Can we hear Marsh?
I don't think so.
No, I don't think so. Well, Marsh, listen, you have a great call tomorrow. We'll look forward to seeing you on TSN. And I'll tell you what, this Edmonton-Toronto game, I mean, there are potential scenarios where the Elks could be in a playoff spot when we do CFL 110 on Tuesday this week. It is so tight right now, Remis. You look at BC, who has, I think, a very, very winnable game coming up on tonight against Ottawa, and I do think they sort of get their revenge in a big way. So BC could tie the Bombers if they don't win tonight. Now, the Bombers do have the tiebreaker over both BC and Edmonton based on head-to-head, but there are more games to be played, at least with the Bombers in Edmonton. So, I mean, we are in for a finish to this Canadian football season that I think is going to be far more intriguing and exciting than we've had in recent years, because pretty much everyone has a seat at the table right now. No one is out.
Yeah, I'm really surprised to see Edmonton at this point at 5-7, tied with BC for that last playoff spot. And you have to think, where would Edmonton be if they would have started Cody Fajardo at quarterback to start the season? He's really come in and given them the stability that they needed, and a big win for them last week against Calgary. Saskatchewan appears to be running away with the division here, 10-2. Calgary just behind 8-4. And Winnipeg, they're in a tough spot, 6-6. You got 2 teams right behind you, and you're starting your backup quarterback with the big one in Hamilton tonight. That's the West, and in the East, yeah, Toronto and Ottawa both at 4-8. Montreal 5-7. They're kind of just waiting. Okay, when is Davis Alexander going to come back and be ready? And Hamilton, they're the top team. Bo Levi, he's been healthy. He's slinging it. Kenny Lawler going up and catching the ball. So very close all around. I'm curious how it's going to end. We're on week 15 right now. What is there, like 5? Couple weeks left. So
21 weeks.
21 weeks. Exciting. Sorry, excuse me. I'm about to sneeze. Exciting end to the season.
Okay,
Sorry.
you can
I was
sneeze.
I was gonna hit myself off the screen. It went away, but I didn't want to do it on camera here.
You know what? I don't know. I don't know what happened with the audio there at the end. We were working through it on the phone. But anyways, great to have Marshall here. He'll have the call tomorrow. Toronto and Edmonton in the Canadian Football League. Listen, we'll get to this a little later on, and we did talk about it somewhat this morning on the WST Winners NFL Picks and Preview Show for Week 2, which was live at 10 a.m. Folks, throughout the throughout the NFL season, 10 a.m. Friday. Myself, Jake, Pat, we'll get to our favorite plays. We'll put together some fun ones up for the Coolbet combos and the Coolbet exclusives. And we'll check in with Jake actually a little later on today. A couple things that I do want to get to before Jeff Hamilton jumps in. And I'm not forgetting about this Hockey Canada story with the future for the players that were all acquitted in the Hockey Canada sexual assault case. We're going to touch on that with Jeff Hamilton when he joins us coming up a little bit later on. Two things, though, that I did want to mention, Remo, just from yesterday. How good did the Green Bay Packers look? That was, a phenomenal performance against a very, very good team. And for Green Bay in 5 days to absolutely dust the Detroit Lions, who were 15-2 last year, and then Jaden Daniels and the Washington Commanders. This Green Bay team already had high hopes. You add in Micah Parsons and the fact that they traded Kenny Clark. They have not lost a beat. They've been dominant shutting down the run. And my God, were their corners good last night. I've watched both games pretty much start to finish of the Green Bay Packers, and to me, they have been so impressive. We knew Detroit's good. Minnesota is really good. This division is so tough, but man, Green Bay, especially when you look at their schedule moving forward, it could absolutely be the case that the Green Bay Packers are 8-0 by the time they play the Eagles on Monday Night Football in early November. A hell of a performance last night by Jordan Love and the Cheeseheads.
Yeah, what a first 2 games here for Green Bay. Jaden Daniels, young, up-and-coming quarterback, dynamic offense. Same with Detroit. Last week, they were the top offense last year, and they did nothing against Green Bay. And Jordan Love, he got injured in the first game last year, and you have to wonder how much did that linger all year round. And the offense looking good, running the ball. How about Kraft last night? Most receiving yards by a Green Bay tight end in over 10 years. That was a nice Ricard Rogers reference on the broadcast last night. Oh,
really?
Yeah.
Any Bubba Franks?
No
Remember
Bubba Franks. I do remember Bubba Franks. That's the guy you take at the end of your fantasy draft. But yeah, they're looking good. Nice home win. And yeah, Green Bay, they're certainly a contender. And Jordan Love, it's taken him a while, but he's established himself as a pretty good quarterback. Didn't turn the ball over. 2 touchdown passes, almost 300 yards passing. A couple, rushing here, and they're only 12 on 3 carries. But their offense looking good, and the defense really making Jaden Daniels look, and I don't want to say inept, but they really had trouble moving the ball.
Hey, just on it. I know we'll kind of spend more time when Jake jumps on here, but I will mention that at Coolbet right now, the futures markets are still up, and the MVP has Josh Allen at plus 325, Lamar at 5-1, Joe Burrow and Jordan Love next. Jordan Love at 9-1, I think, is a great number, and I don't think that number is going to be there for very long. When you think about how impressive the team has looked and Jordan Love has looked in the first couple of weeks, if you believe that the Packers are going to be one of or the top team in the NFC, Love is absolutely live. And, he's throwing for some big numbers. He's getting touchdowns. He doesn't have any all-star receivers. So he's going to be the guy that gets the majority of the credit. And let's face it, new players in the mix always get a little bit of a bump. It's sort of his turn, or there's a new guy. We saw it last year with Josh Allen beating Lamar, despite Lamar having the better stat numbers. So I'm just going to throw it out there. I have put a little something on Jordan Love at 9-1 for the NFL MVP, and I think he's going to be very much in the mix as this season continues. We're going to have Hammer join us in just a couple minutes. One other thing coming up from yesterday, Remis, which was very popular in the chat. How about Kevin Gausman dropping a complete game shutout on the Astros yesterday to close up their series? Jays kicking things off tonight against the Baltimore Orioles, but coming off that tough loss in Game 2 of the series, for Gausman to step up with a masterpiece like that at this time of the year, great news. They didn't even have to get to the bullpen, any of them, and we don't see complete games very often in the majors.
No, you don't anymore. And Kevin Gausman he's been a big free agent signing for Toronto. 9 innings, 9 strikeouts, only 2 hits, 1 walk. That is a start where if you're in the playoffs, you have a guy like that come in and absolutely shut the door. Not just on, this isn't some bottom feeder team. Houston was leading the division. Seattle did tie them with that loss, and they had their extra innings win of their own yesterday. So this playoff race heating up. You had Aaron Judge hitting the 2 home runs yesterday for the Yankees. They got the win, but that's big, and the Jays will be in action again tonight, Huss. They've got a new series right now, hosting the Orioles, who, really disappointing season for them. Chris Bassett against Trevor Rogers. So the Blue Jays look to keep it going at home, but a big win against Houston yesterday.
I'm just looking at Rogers' numbers for the season.
Yes.
Like, he's 8-2 with a what is that? Is that right? A 1.52 ERA? 1.51 ERA?
Yeah, it says, and he's
those are numbers that'll get you in the Cy Young race. It still is crazy that the Baltimore Orioles, with all of that talent, are 8 games under 500, but they are. But yeah, tough spot for Bassett tonight, going up against a very, very good Baltimore pitcher in Rogers. And of course, Bo Bichette still out right now. He'll be out for the next week or so with his time on the 10-day IL. All right, we're going to welcome in Jeff Hamilton coming up in just a moment. Still to come on the program, Dan Fink from Montreal as Braden Yeager, Elias Salmonson, and the Jets prospects get ready to get the activities underway at the Montreal tourney. Just before we bring in Hammer, though, big thanks to our friends at Princess Auto. As always, we'd like to thank Princess Auto for their great support of Winnipeg Sports Talk. Of course, Princess Auto, founded and headquartered right here in Winnipeg and now coast to coast, is the home of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, home the Princess Auto Stadium. But we've got Princess Autos coast to coast, including 3 in Manitoba, Panet Road, Portage Avenue West, and of course out in Brandon for our friends in Westman. Princess Auto is where you'll find the best deals on the most unique assortment of tools and equipment around. Everything you need to complete the projects on your list or start something new is at Princess Auto. So pop by and see them in store or shop online today, 24/7, 365, and get those ideas and plans working as we get into fall. Hey, speaking of fall, it won't be too long before we're worrying about making sure the cars and the trucks are starting in the morning. Donnie and Manitoba Battery have you covered for that, as they have all summer long for batteries for boats and campers and ATVs, you name it. Sled season not too far away as well. Whatever you need batteries for, the bottom line is Manitoba Battery is your local option where you'll save big over the big box stores and get the best customer service in town. Manitoba Battery pledges to have the best prices in town, period. Got a big harvest sale on right now, so make sure to check all those details out at manitobabattery.com. But in addition, they'll take care of you with 2 locations, Logan Avenue or the new location on the south end on Dovercourt Drive. But better yet, Manitoba Battery knows you're busy, and they'll deliver those batteries to you for free anywhere inside the perimeter with any purchase over $60. It's just that easy. Pop by and see Manitoba Battery in store for the best deals in town, or give them a call or order online at manitobabattery.com and let Donnie and the gang bring the best deals on batteries in town to you. And hey, fellas, with that fall pretty much here, I know many of you might be looking into your closet and saying, you know what? I need to up my menswear game. Well, good news. You can do that with one trip down to the leaders in custom men's clothing in town, F Apparel at 190 Smith Street, just a slap shot from the arena downtown. F Apparel has the best in custom men's clothing, including suits starting at $400, chinos, golf pants, custom shirts, both tucked and untucked styles, and the best selection of menswear accessories in town. If you are getting married or in a wedding party, make sure to talk to the guys at F about a special discount for the wedding party when you get your suits for the big day. For all your menswear needs, make it F Apparel. You can find out more online and make an appointment to come in for a fitting at F. That's EPHapparel.com, and visit them in their showroom at 190 Smith Street downtown. All right, let's bring in my tag team partner on CFL 110 and your favorite person from the Winnipeg Free Press, JF Hamilton, who joins us now. Games are still up. The latest CFL 110 might be some great listening before you get to the games on the weekend. What's going on? You're taking the show on the road, I see.
Yeah, I'm here in Ottawa right now, so I'm not covering or will be in Hamilton for tonight's game, but I'm here in Ottawa. I'm so excited about the next week's matchup with the Red Blacks that I decided to show up a full week ahead. So
camping out in Ottawa, just counting down to the Bombers
just counting
Red Blacks
the days
game.
down, thinking about the game, its significance, getting ready for CFL 110. No, I'm down here for a wedding, which is awesome, and I was able to extend that into next week's coverage of the Bombers at the Red Blacks. So certainly ready to talk tonight's game, but I'm in the nation's capital, holding my seat warm.
Yeah, listen. Before we even get to tonight's game, what horrible news to start the day off. The passing of Ted Gavaya, and I've learned more about Ted just through today. Seeing some of the things that people talked about. We just had Marshall Ferguson on, who talked about just how much he had worked, like being a U Sports guy, and has worked with the Bombers to getting the job back in the Hammer where he's from. This was supposed to be the Ted the Team Ted game tonight, and it certainly still will be, but instead of everyone coming together to support Ted in his battle, unfortunately they're going to be remembering him, Jeff, and his, as I've said all so long, this game tonight, Ted Gavaya's fingerprints all over both sides of the football field.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I can speak for a lot of people, and reading that news, understanding what tonight's game was supposed to be about, who it was supposed to be about. How do you not describe it anything else than a gut punch, right? Now it becomes, rather than celebrating someone, still celebrating, it's mourning somebody. And so, I don't say this as in I was working my insider scoop, but really from the start of the season, the language I had heard around Ted wasn't good in his battle. Fiercely fighting, obviously. We have our close friend in Ted Wyman, who went through I don't know what the cancer was with Ted Gavaya, but I was hearing not so great things when the news kind of came out. And then when I saw this game, and obviously a great opportunity to shine a light on Ted Gavaya and his role in the CFL, in particular with these two teams, it kind of felt like maybe this news might be around the corner. Unfortunately, that was the case. And I think, to your point, Huss, this is a guy who, much like Craig Smith not long ago, has that interesting story, Canadian roots story to the CFL and rising the different levels. And if I could add anything to, what you said, throughout his time in Winnipeg, obviously having his fingerprints on a lot of the moves, a lot of the scouting reports, a lot of the pickup signings, all those things, managerial responsibilities that Ted carried throughout his tenure here in Winnipeg. This is a guy that, he kind of didn't get the opportunity when he could have got it, right? This is a guy whose name has been tossed around, with other teams, and even protected, because the Bombers didn't want to lose such a valuable piece of their management, right? And to finally get this opportunity in Hamilton, and to have the success that we see the Ticats had this season, a big part of that obviously being Ted's work and efforts and passion. I think this, obviously it's an incredibly sad day, but to end my comment on a positive note, he was that guy who put his blood, sweat, and tears into the league, into the team he worked for, into the league he loved. And you're seeing that, obviously, whether it's Patty Neufeld's tweet or, other players who have stepped forward and shared their videos or comments of the impact Ted had. I mean, it's undeniable, and certainly a sad day for this league, sad day for Ted's family and friends, and sad day for anybody who loves Canadian football and those who have contributed to it.
Hammer, let's move on if we can to the game, although I'm sure Ted in his memory will be front and center throughout tonight's broadcast, and there'll be a lot of heavy hearts in Tim Hortons Field tonight. This is a huge game for the Bombers. I mean, just before we brought you on, we were just talking about, and we certainly hit this on CFL 110 this week, just how tight everything is. I mean, you could have at the end of this week, BC, Winnipeg, Edmonton, each team could be in a playoff spot depending on what happens in these respective games right now. But it's pretty clear that the Winnipeg Blue Bombers going on the road to a place where they've had a difficult time winning at the best of times, now without their starting quarterback, are going to need a big-time defensive performance, continuing to improve as they've done throughout this season, coming off 2 strong games against Saskatchewan. And for my money, and we just talked with Marshall Ferguson about this, a heavy dosage of Brady Oliveira, but they're going to have to find something else in the offense because Bo Levi Mitchell is going to find a way to put up some points. Just thoughts on the challenges for the Bombers who see themselves as 7.5-point underdogs in this game going on the road without QB1.
Well, first off, I mean, the picture in the standings. I mean, usually we're talking about the race for the top spot in the West. The most exciting race right now is the bottom of the West. And then to your point, I mean, everybody that you mentioned is currently in a playoff spot, right? You have the BC Lions and Edmonton Elks tied at 5-7. They're currently occupying that third Eastern Division playoff spot, right? As we await to figure out what happens with the 4-8 Toronto Argonauts and Ottawa Red Blacks. So there already is a bit of a race to the bottom there, and we'll see how that all shakes out. So it makes these games all the more important. Again, we usually talk about these games mattering to the top of the West for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. In this case, it's maintaining a playoff spot in the division, and that's really been the story of Winnipeg all season long is kind of just keeping their heads above water, right? They obviously had a nice little start. Everybody kind of thought that they were growing from their 2024 season, and that's turned out to not be the case. Add in the significant wrinkle of not having your starting quarterback and playing in a place like Hamilton, where the Bombers have, outside of the Grey Cup, mind you, haven't had a ton of success, and they're in a serious situation here where week to week it's going to affect their playoff chances. So. Look, Winnipeg's in tough this tonight. There's no doubt about it. They're in, they would have been in tough if they had a healthy Zach Collaros at the helm. With Chris Streveler here, we'll see how Jason Hogan can get the offense going. We'll see if the defense can pick up the slack against obviously an incredible offense led by Bo Levi Mitchell. You've seen the weapons. I'm obviously intrigued to see what Kenny Lawler can do against his former team, because Winnipeg fans have been reminded throughout the year, not having a guy like him on the roster and what that could have done for this team. What's going to happen if Kenny has a big night tonight. So obviously a big one here.
Yeah, and listen, speaking of Kenny Lawler, it sounds like he's kind of looking at this as a bit of a revenge game. I'm sure you saw your colleague Taylor Allen's piece in the Winnipeg Free Press. What was your takeaway from that? I mean, I thought it was maybe a little rich saying, how great he's supported in Hamilton, considering what he put the organization through while he was here.
So I didn't see. So I haven't read Taylor's piece, so I apologize for that to a certain degree. But can you give me a little bit of the takeaways? I don't want to speak on something that I don't know exactly.
Here's the Cole's notes. Kenny said that he didn't leave Winnipeg for money. It came down to feeling disrespected. He cited the Bombers signing Dylan Mitchell before him and only getting an offer one day before free agency. He said he was frustrated the team blocked his work permit, which stopped him from running youth football camps in Winnipeg. And he said that Hamilton showed a lot of strong support for he and his family's situation, and he feels supported on and off the field and valued in Hamilton. And
was his comments directed to praising Hamilton, or were they disrespecting Winnipeg?
Well, I mean,
or is it up to interpretation based on the comments? Because to me, you can, often throwing positive praise on somebody else can be viewed as negative praise on another, but that's not necessarily the case. But I don't think I need to read a lot here to kind of, to know some of the inner workings between the organization, and particularly with Kenny's story. Look, the Bombers didn't when Kenny says it wasn't about money, Kenny's probably saying, well, he probably would have taken less in Winnipeg versus what he took in Hamilton. I'm speculating from that, but that would be the result, because Winnipeg wasn't offering him as much as Hamilton was offering him. Now, the question then becomes, Winnipeg never wanted to pay a receiver over $300,000 a year. This is part of their something needs to give. No one's won a Grey Cup who's paid for a receiver that much money. And so maybe there's a little bit of a correction of the market to a certain degree. Obviously, that didn't work out. Hamilton did pony up the cash, and here is Kenny Payne, living up to his high salaried expectations, right? The other thing too here is I don't think that Kenny, when he looks at it, his time in Winnipeg would look at a negative situation. I think, a lot of people might not know this. I think it's been documented now that he's in Hamilton. It was certainly part of the reason why he went to Edmonton is he has a young son with some challenges. So, that require some help, right? Or that require, when dealing with different destinations on where you want to go, those resources or, how you can help out his family is obviously a number one question a lot of players ask. That being said, I don't think he was disregarded here in Winnipeg. And I mean, as far as the disrespect thing, I think once the salary cap was announced, right, anyone who doesn't remember that time and place, the salary cap rose during the tampering window, right? When players were already getting deals, signing deals. And so Winnipeg, who to this day, as far as I'm concerned, has not acknowledged the increase in the salary cap, right? Like Winnipeg just kind of said, yeah, okay. Like, I mean, there are still, some people look at my text message or my tweets yesterday about the league and, the payback or whatever. Like there's some teams that are straight up not recognizing the increased salary cap. So we'll see, we should see the numbers by the end of the year. But, while there was the the reality that there was more money that could have been dumped into Kenny Lawler, money I'm sure teammates thought could go to Kenny Lawler, the Bombers stayed clear in their belief system, and that was not paying someone over $3,000. So I can see the disrespect here. Look, I'm not going to go in the different things or the reasons why Kenny Lawler shouldn't have comments, necessarily that are super negative to Winnipeg, because I don't know the exact tone or details of this. But I don't think anybody really needs to go and look back into Kenny's closet here during Winnipeg and look at a guy who got a driving under the influence charge in Winnipeg on our streets and our community, got a second chance, and then couldn't get his stuff together and paperwork in time and had to miss 6 games the next year. Well, still, I don't know if he got paid for that. It's probably where he felt disrespected. I know there was a fight back and forth in that. But the guy made his own bed here. The other parts too, and this isn't to dump on Kenny, but accountability matters. And this isn't the reason why he wouldn't sign. But Kenny hasn't spoken after the last 3 Grey Cups. He hasn't come out after the games. He hasn't come out in the next day rollover. And it's just for a guy who loves to call himself a team player and had nothing but positive things to say about Winnipeg, he also loved to talk about Kenny Lawler. And that's what I love about Kenny. So it's not even I think Kenny Lawler is great for the CFL. I think he's a terrific player. And I loved when he was, who he is. I just think sometimes these comments can be misconstrued. And there's lots of reasons to be happy with a place, and there's lots of reasons to be unhappy with a place. And I think if you take stock of everything, Huss, I think Kenny Lawler has a lot more to be happy for in Winnipeg than he does to not be. So that's where I stand with it.
I've got Taylor's piece up right now. And this is the quote from Kenny. He said, it boiled down to one main thing, disrespect. Quote, y'all signed Dylan Mitchell before me. Who wouldn't feel disrespected? And I will say, based on how things have played out this year, maybe he's got a point.
Oh, yeah. I mean, to me, it's just when Kenny has the opportunity to be the bigger man in a season that otherwise can be, with the season he's having. Here's the other thing, right? Did he not just set a career high in receiving yards? Not too long ago, last week in his past game? Yeah, and guess how many that was? 1,047, which I'm not saying isn't impressive, but that's just over 1,000 yards. Dalton Schoen came in here and racked up 1,400 in his rookie season. So I'm not saying that didn't come because of help from, guys like Kenny Lawler or whatever. I'm just saying that, I think Kenny loves to play into some of the things, and this would be, to me, just caught him in a moment where he wanted to share some of his feelings, and he did. Great.
Well,
I love
lots
that
going into this one tonight. Of course, he's not the only former Bomber. I mean, Leon Dobson and Drew Wolatarski all there. Of course, all
and good for him, man. I mean, when he left to Edmonton, right? It wasn't just about people can talk about chasing the money and whether they like that. And of course, you're going to have certain fan bases that are not going to love.
I don't blame any CFL player for getting the bag.
And in that year, Huss, he set the bar for receivers. So and to Kenny's credit, he took on that responsibility. I mean, he took on that responsibility. Sounds kind of ridiculous, but at the same time, he understood that what he was doing, like he could have taken a haircut from Winnipeg, right? But he understood his ability to push the envelope, push the line for receivers was there, and he took advantage of that. And you can say he reset the market for receivers. So Kenny's done a lot of great things, and kudos to Kenny having a great season this year. You know, I think, you know, he's showing all his critics, if there was any, because I don't think it was ever a debate of whether, you know, whether Kenny Lawler was a great player.
Everyone knew the guy's a stud when he's on the field.
Certainly nobody was comparing him to Dylan Mitchell, which I find interesting. I think that was a former teammate of his in Edmonton when it's first. So maybe those years don't line up. But I just, you know, I don't know. Here's the thing, Haz. I don't know why you need to dump on a guy and an organization that, you know, paid you lots of money, gave you opportunity. And, you know, I think there's an argument to be made, certainly, that took care of you while you were here. No one's just treated better than the Winnipeg Blue Bombers players.
You can check it out at the Free Press. It's I was leaving a higher.
I love that though. Taylor's the best for that. Shout out to Taylor, because Taylor's the one who can get those comments, get, like, you know, he created a storm when Marcus Sayles called the Winnipeg Blue Bombers offense vanilla, right? That had Taylor's fingerprints all over him. So, you know,
he's such a nice guy and sort of quiet and unassuming. I think he breaks the guys down and then all of a sudden gets some heaters from people that
absolutely, yeah,
certainly go well in the newspaper.
Sure.
Well, listen, Bombers are going to have their hands full tonight. 6:00 start Winnipeg time from Tim Hortons Field. You know, there'll certainly be a moment for Ted Gavaya before the game, and that will be all over the broadcast tonight as the entire Canadian Football League has heavy hearts on the passing of Ted Gavaya. Hammer, I want to move from football for a minute. I've been saving this topic to talk about with you today.
Perfect.
We had the National Hockey League yesterday ruled on the future of the 5 players that were acquitted in the Hockey Canada sexual assault trial. Now, this involves McLeod, Carter Hart, Dylan Dubé, Cal Foote. Alex Formanton is an RFA, but he is already signed in Europe, I believe. Here's what the National Hockey League has said. These players can sign contracts as of October 15th. So they cannot sign before the season starts. The first day that any of them can sign a deal is the 15th of October. They are still suspended until the 1st of December. They will not be able to practice with their new teams until the 15th of November, and they can play games on the 1st. You know, with something as dark as this entire episode was, there's obviously going to be thoughts on both sides. You know, you have some people that think that these guys have been proven that they did absolutely nothing wrong and this is heavy-handed. And obviously you've got many people saying that, you know, this is a joke and the NHL doesn't respect women and all that. It's a difficult spot to be in considering what came out of the court date. But, I mean, you've spent a lot of time dealing with these sort of things. We've talked about this topic beforehand. What was your reaction and what are your thoughts on how the NHL has handled this? And I guess I'll ask you this straight up. Did they have any other choice?
Yeah, like, I mean, these things, Huss, are so nuanced, right? It's not just like, where do you fall on the line, right? Like, I mean, I think there's a sector of people that would expect me to come out here and torch them, right? Say that what they did was unbelievably wrong and horrible. And, you know, even though they were not found guilty of what they did, their actions suggest that, you know, their behavior isn't warranted to be in the National Hockey League. And you can go down the narrative of being in the National Hockey League as a privilege and not a right, and nobody has a right to that. And then, you know, and then you can go into the other side and you can talk about how these guys were acquitted and that we have a criminal justice system for a reason, and that, you know, guilt or innocent until found guilty. And obviously in this case they weren't, and only, you know, everyone should get second chances. Like, the fact of the matter is, Huss, is all of that is kind of true. And so it becomes this issue of like, and I think for me, like, you know, and as, you know, as you save these kind of questions for me and not my other colleagues who do essentially the exact same job as me, but don't do this kind of work, is I think, you know, if you look at how I've covered this, I've never really been a zero tolerance, you know, this person should lose their job, you know, whether that was the Kyle Beach stuff and Kevin Cheveldayoff that I got accused over and over again. You didn't want him to get his job. You wanted him to lose his job. Go check the receipts. There's not a single situation, tweet or whatever, that I ever said that. And I was fairly silent over this case too, because to me, it's not necessarily trusting in the systems that are at play here, but each system is unique in of itself. And whether it's the criminal justice system, whether it's the National Hockey League, whether it's sanctions at Hockey Canada, and I can tell you how I feel on a personal level, the fact of the matter, it doesn't really matter how I feel personally. But I think at the end of the day here, you have to weigh a balance between people's rights, right? People's right to earn a living, people's right to not have consequences of a court case that went ultimately in their favor. And then there's obviously that threshold. And I think that's the subjective part here, Huss, is that from a criminal standpoint, these guys aren't criminal. Held responsible in this, right? They didn't become, they weren't proven guilty. They weren't held criminally responsible. And I've done this kind of work, much like my investigation came out in June, where I was talking about teacher discipline, right? And how the school system had been using the criminal justice system as the threshold to hold our teachers accountable for their behaviors and whether or not they should hold a valid teaching certificate. The threshold of the criminal justice system is not the same threshold as the school system and shouldn't be, just as it shouldn't be the same threshold of the National Hockey League. The National Hockey League is a business. They are allowed to set their own standards. They're allowed to set their own morals. They're allowed to set their own beliefs. And guess what the beauty of it is? As a civilian, as a human being, you get to decide whether or not you agree with that, whether you want to support a league that allows players to come back in, whether you want to support a league that does give players a second chance. Wherever you fall on whatever moral high ground or belief system that you carry with you, the fact of the matter is the power you hold is in your decision making. So you can ask me whether I agree with these guys coming back to the NHL. I think you can make an argument against it. I think you can make an argument for it. And I could do that personally with things that I believe in my own personal life. The fact of the matter is, what I care most about, why I do this work and why it matters to me, is I want people to be educated by the end of this. I want people to understand the situations better, to understand how these things occur, to understand as a society, really the underbelly of some of these things that don't make either side look good or bad. It just tries to present the facts and situations and tries to bring nuanced gray. It's impossible to add black and white, Huss, to a gray situation. And I know this sounds like a word salad right now, but my point in saying all this is I just hope that the men who went through that process, because the fact of the matter is these men did not get were not convicted, were not proven guilty, but they went through a process that was very public, that was very, traumatizing. And again, so did the victim, right? Trust me, when I do my work, I'm doing, a lot of my heartstrings and my empathy is for the victims here, right? But that wouldn't have been an easy process for them. They, of course, made their bed and they'll have to live with the consequences. But as far as coming back and gaining an opportunity to play in the NHL, again, you can agree or disagree with that, but you have to do that with your own belief system. The fact the NHL has allowed these guys to play is not a surprise to me. It's not unprecedented. Go look at other professional sports leagues. People who have been convicted for things have returned to get an opportunity to play pro sports, right? So this isn't unprecedented. This isn't an outrageous thing that you can look at. And that's maybe to some people a sad part of our reality, and to other people, they're happy that they provide second chances. Anyways, I just think it's such a nuanced thing that to go around and just have everybody opining about what, I like it's bad connection to it, but it's the same thing with Zach Collaros' future here. Like ultimately, there's only certain people that have the decision making to decide what's going to happen with this, and that's the National Hockey League. As a citizen, as a journalist, as anybody, you have to. We'll see how you feel about that and act on how you feel. That's how I. And
I think it's important to note that the National Hockey League is made up of 32 teams. Listen, if these guys get signed, and I'm of the opinion that we probably won't see Dubé, McLeod, or Cal Foote get deals. They're not good enough to, I think, handle everything that's going to come with it. Carter Hart maybe be in a different situation where teams, and I don't think it'll be a Canadian team. I think the heat would be too much in Canada from a section of society and the population, but I wouldn't be surprised if he gets an opportunity for a second chance. But here's what it comes down to, and I think you said it very well. Like if you're the Winnipeg Jets, you can look at this situation and say, oh yeah, the guy's a good player, but we're not feeling very good about this guy's character. I don't think it would be appreciated by the majority of our season ticket holders. I think it would be a very poor move for us PR-wise, and we're not going to offer this guy a contract and we're moving on. And that is their right to do that. But from a National Hockey League perspective, certainly they've got their morals clause and they're suspending these guys until December 1st. They can't even sign till teams are made, so that's further complicating things to get these guys on rosters. But at the end of it, especially considering these guys have lost 2 years of their career, they were acquitted on it all. Like, I think from a league perspective, at some point, these guys have to at least have the opportunity to earn a living, and then it comes down to the 32 operators in the league as to whether it makes sense for them to be the ones that give the second chance. And they're two very different things.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing I would add to it, Huss, is that it's not just like it's a group of NHL executives sitting around a table together deciding whether, has this been enough? Has this been whatever? There's rights that the Players Association fights for, right? These are certain
100%
things that the Players Association is immediately dealing with. The reality of it, guys, is unions deal with the messy stuff too. They have to protect the perpetrators almost as much as they protect the victims, right? You see that in any suspension here.
Look at
right?
NHL player safety. That's
exactly. That's the Players Association is just another arm of the player safety thing because the Players Association is involved in that process when it comes to determining a suspension. They can grieve things. The NHL, as I mentioned at the beginning, is a business. It has its policies, its place. It has its worked on agreements and its collective bargaining and all those things. And unions are readily aware of activities outside of the sport not affecting their ability to earn money. So it's not like the PA is a front row seat to this saying, no, a union's job is to not move the line. It's not, or to resist moving the line for as long as possible as time evolves and society evolves, to keep it the way it is for as long as possible. And that would include getting teams players when charged the opportunity to return. And again, those are things that aren't played out in public. They aren't discussed or analyzed, or maybe are discussed and analyzed as we're doing here, but they're not shared by the parties at play here about what went into this decision. A decision is made, and that decision is made with a ton of people involved, including what would be the Players Association in this. So that's part of the missing part too, is that, and to your point, Huss, this is just the first step, right? This is the league allowing teams to sign these players. The next move, as you mentioned, becomes the teams actually doing it, working out an agreement, and then, of course, having, being willing to be painted as whatever, right? In that spotlight of people who are going to disagree with the decision are going to pile on, and nothing new that the NHL teams. It's nothing new to NHL teams, right? The image issues and whatnot. So that's the other part. This is just allowing. This could be, we have our hands set. Heck. And I'm not saying this is the case. The NHL could say, we don't want these guys in. And they could be fighting over this for weeks and weeks. Do I think that happened? Probably not. But they could do that, and they might not be able to fight it because there's lawyers involved here. Lawyers get involved, and they talk about the legal ramifications. So that, to me, finally got to this. The dates probably align with a certain amount of time, as we hear. It's like 2 years out or whatever, right? And then that seems like a reasonable time to do it, and they make that decision. And then again, all this stuff has to happen, and all this, all the public stuff that comes, the social media that comes with things, that's all going to come going too. So this thing isn't over. It's just got its first step, but it's a big first step. And of course, one that now allows 5 people who are under a massive spotlight to return to that public life and potentially play on the NHL.
Yeah. I mean, listen, you're going to hear a lot of people saying these guys are scumbags. They don't deserve to wear the jersey.
Well, and that doesn't even take into consideration
if
these guys do sign, they're going to be targets on the ice. Like it's just
yeah.
like this thing.
And then again,
the
PA and their representatives will say, hold on a second here. These guys were falsely accused of something. They were acquitted of it, and they lost 2 years of their careers and had to go through something that.
Well, all the union has to do is fight for their players in this. So they're taking the full-on stance 100%. Of what's going to make the player better here. The player isn't the victim in this. Well, the player's the victim, whatever. The player isn't the victim in this case, but they don't have to weigh where they're going. They're full-on defense of the player. Obviously, they're a union.
Yeah, no, and as I say, I mean, I would be shocked if any of these players end up on a Canadian roster, and I think that there's probably a good chance that at whatever point only Carter Hart, because of what he might be able to do on the ice, actually is worth the risk in the opinion of a team in the National Hockey League. But I guess we'll see going forward. Listen, I appreciate you doing that, and I know I hit you with it, but you have a unique experience of dealing with a number of these things, and I think understand the nuances of how everyone, the challenges, whether it be from a league, from a team perspective, from a representative of the players, how all this works. And, the truth is often sort of in the middle of some of the more extreme viewpoints on either side. Hammer, have a great weekend and some extended days out in Ottawa. And we'll look forward to catch up next week, of course, for CFL 110 and a big game next week for the Bombers. The next 2 games are on the road out east before coming back on the 27th to take on the Ticats. All the best, my man. We'll talk to you in a few days.
Yeah, looking forward to the show, Huss. Love doing CFL 110. And yeah, looking forward to some family time. That's probably about 25, 26 Hamiltons in one room tonight. Oh. So not going to be a lot of getting words in edgewise, but outside of that, it should be an awesome time.
Beautiful, Powell. All the best. Have a great one, and we appreciate it. Dan Fink is going to join us coming up in just a minute from Montreal, where the Jets prospects are going to be taken to the ice. We'll get a little bit of a setup of what's to come. But first up, let's give a big thanks to a few of the great sponsors on WST. Hockey season is here, and before you drop the puck on the new year, you got to head down to Winnipeg's #1 hockey superstore for over 50 years, Royal Sports, where you'll have the best selection, best deals, and the best customer service from hockey players who play the game to get you the right fit on all the equipment and needs for the upcoming season. It's only at Royal Sports. In addition to the best selection of sticks and equipment and skates and goalie gear, fans are getting ready for the season at Royal Sports. All the latest Jets merchandise, your Jonathan Taves jerseys and more available. And NFL fans, new NFL gear coming in by the week. So as your team sets out another season, get geared up at Royal Sports, Winnipeg's #1 sports superstore for over 50 years. Give them a follow on Instagram at Royal Sports Winnipeg for the latest merchandise drops and sale information. Man, this is a great time of year. The NFL is back. We've got primetime games. The CFL stretch of the playoffs continues. We got pennant races in baseball. When you're heading out to get together with your gang for the big game, make it Boston Pizza. Ice cold schooners, world famous BP wings, gourmet pizzas, and more. Great prizes to be won on all NFL primetime nights. And of course, the summer menu still kicking around with those delicious cherry cola beef sliders and more. No better place to get together with your gang for the big game than Boston Pizza. And if you are staying at home, you can always get the great taste of BP by ordering online at bostonpizza.com. The Ryder Cup countdown is on right now, a couple weeks away from Bethpage Black. Looking forward to having some more Breezy Bend golf reports coming up heading into the event. But in the meantime, as we finish up a beautiful golf season, it's time to think about 2026. And if Breezy Bend or one of the Winnipeg's top private courses is in your future, I'd suggest you get on that now. Holler at Corey Johnson at the clubhouse, 895-7205, or find out more on membership for the 2026 season today online at breezybend.ca. All right, as we continue the show, first things first, let's give a big cheers to our friends at Winnipeg and Manitoba's favorite local brewery, our friends at Little Brown Jug.
You train day in and day out, learning new techniques, approaching new concepts, and living out the thrill of achieving your goals. Building a craft beer is no different. While you spend your hours on the ice, we spend ours here, brewing our trademark beer. Again, and again. Here's to pushing the status quo and challenging ourselves to build something memorable. 1919 by Little Brown Jug.
All right, we're going to head out to Montreal in just a minute. Hey, I just want to get to the chat room, and I see a comment from Elias McCracken. It says, careful, Huss. The judge couldn't find guilt based on the current legal process doesn't mean what did happen was innocent. Listen, dude, I'm not taking a side on either. I'm just telling you what some people will say, that they're done with these guys and they should never be able to play again. And people can have that opinion. There will be people on the other side, namely their agents and the Players Association, that will say that these players were not guilty in a court of law, especially when you consider what the judge said, that the complainant's testimony was not credible, and saying that, you know, that these guys have paid a price for something that they did not do. Listen, I am not telling anybody how to feel. I'm just saying, in a situation like this, the league, I think legally at some point has to say that these guys are eligible to play. And then the individual teams will make a decision as to whether they want to give somebody another chance. But from a league perspective, I mean, it would be challenged in court. It would certainly be challenged by the PA. So, I mean, there are two sides to this, and wherever you end up on it all is, you know, 100% you're right. And I'm not taking on either side. I'm just trying to show you that there will be differing opinions. And when it comes to the league, they're making it a possibility that these players play again, but it will come down to the individual teams as to whether they want to sign them. But let's get to some Jets talk right now, because out in Montreal, a number of the Jets' top prospects will be taken to the ice in a new prospects tournament this year. And, of course, you'll be able to watch the games at winnipegjets.com. And the guy that'll be calling the action is Dan Fink. And he joins us with one of a quintessential Fink backdrop. You are looking great today. Where do we find you this afternoon, Dan?
Oh, just hanging out a couple of blocks away from Bell Center, getting ready for this quick 2-game hit in and out of Montreal. So just hanging out in downtown Montreal, but a bit of a whirlwind travel and practice day, but finally getting to settle in here a little bit and enjoy the digs here in downtown Montreal.
Love it. So give us a quick idea about the schedule of this entire event. I mean, the entire crew that's playing, and yourself and the team staff and management went out. And did you guys just get in today, or was that yesterday?
Yeah, so I got up this morning, got on the plane, get into Montreal a few hours ago, and then hoof it over to the practice facility for the Canadians and get on the ice, get back on the bus, get back down to the hotel so everyone can take a load off here and kind of get ready for tomorrow's game day. So it's a pretty quick trip. I mean, if you think back to the Penticton tournaments, it's kind of get in and practice, then you'll have a game or two and then a day off and then another game or two, however that day off would work out. So it would kind of take place over 5-6 days, where this one's a bit quicker over 4 days, and of course just 2 games. So it's a bit more of a quick blitz and a bit of a different environment for these players, because rather than a beautiful facility in Penticton with maybe 1,000, 1,500 people watching, it's going to be a jam-packed Bell Center tomorrow. They are sold out, Huss, for this rookie showdown. So I think it might have something to do with a guy named Ivan Demidov making an appearance this weekend at this rookie tournament. But certainly it's going to be an interesting environment with so many fans in the building tomorrow.
Well, and listen, I mean, I can't imagine a cooler way for some of these young guys to get sort of a taste of pseudo NHL action in what truly is the cathedral of hockey, in front of what will be the biggest crowd for any prospects game all year. I can tell you that much. And listen, it's a very interesting group that the Winnipeg Jets are sending out. And, you know, in particular, we heard from Braden Yeager earlier this week. He and Colby Barlow, 2 former first-round picks, making that transition to professional hockey. And while people like us might have our ideas about how the roster's shaping up for the start of the year, there's a lot of work to be done on the ice moving forward, and all the players, but in particular guys in that situation, looking to have a great weekend and use this as a bit of a jumping off point for a real strong camp, and the job of making the decisions for roster spots with the Winnipeg Jets, a very difficult one for management.
Yeah, I was talking to Cam and Jim on CJLB earlier this week about this. And there's a lot of different things for different players. I mean, there's some guys that are just trying to make their first impressions, just figure out what's going on with systems and all that stuff. There's other guys that are trying to use this as a ramp-up point. I mean, for a guy like Nikita Chibrikov, who missed so much time last season, this is an opportunity for him to get touches. He wanted to come play in this tournament so he could get that opportunity to be ready for Winnipeg Jets camp. And other guys that didn't necessarily have that issue, like an Elias Salamonson, is looking in a similar method to get himself ready for the camp, get those touches, get himself going. So you have kind of varying spectrums there. And of course, you have those players that are eligible to be pros, whether they're in the National Hockey League or not. Guys like Colby Barlow, Jacob Julian, Braden Yager that are trying to put their best foot forward. So there's a wide spectrum here between the teams, between the players on each team, and it's certainly kind of an interesting weekend for that to see how it all plays out on the ice.
Just quickly on a guy that you know quite well, Nikita Chibrikov, who of course missed a good portion of last season due to injury. This is not a guy that would have been expected or counted on to be there. Speaks a lot to his character and just how excited he is to get back playing games that he specifically asked to be a part of this group and come out and play.
Oh, yeah, and there's one thing about Nikita Chibrikov, we've talked a lot about it, Huss, is he's a gamer, and that is one of his skills when it comes to just being a hockey player, and his attitude and his compete level. It's such a big part of who he is. So it's no surprise that he would want to get in those touches, get in that opportunity to compete ahead of trying to make a push for a spot with the Winnipeg Jets and show everybody that missing a good chunk, almost half of the previous season, isn't going to slow him down. So a very valuable opportunity for him. And for those players like him and a guy like Danny Zhilkin, it's an opportunity for these players that have been through a few of these tournaments to try and be leaders out there as well for some of these younger players.
I got to tell you, I am very excited to check out these games. And listen, Braden Yager and Colby Barlow, Elias Salmonson, Chibrikov, I mean, all those players, really be focusing on them on training camp. But I think the two guys that I'm most looking forward to were guys that really opened our eyes a little bit at camp and then had monster seasons in the OHL. Kevin He, and I think maybe Kieran Walton is at the top of that list. I mean, the breakout season that he had, going from 40-some-odd points to in the 90s, leading his team in scoring with a 6'6" frame and package. I mean, a really, really interesting prospect. But I'm not sure if you've been around those guys much heading into the trip, Dan, but just speak to, the years that those two players have had and the chance to be playing prominent roles in this game in the sold-out crowd on the weekend and then heading into their second NHL training camps.
Well, yeah, and for Kieran Walton, he had that opportunity to come in and play, I believe it was 4 games with the Moose last season and picks up an assist in those games and seemed a little bit more comfortable with every step he took at the pro ranks. So those games, so valuable for players to just kind of see what it takes to play in professional hockey. And I think Kieran learned a lot from that. At least that's what he told us all. But yeah, what a season he had, and certainly exploded onto the scene. It's going to be kind of a fun side story here is his twin brother Connor is also on the Jets roster and will be playing this weekend with the club. So two towering twins are going to be patrolling the ice for this Jets prospect team. And then Kevin He, you want to talk about guys like Nikita Chibrikov, who being a gamer in that compete level is a part of their skill set. You could say the same for Kevin He. And the guy, if you watch the highlights, he just loves to score goals. And I know everybody does on some level, but you look at the passion that comes out of him when he puts that puck in the net. So I think fans will gravitate to that attitude. And just all these kids, I think you're struck by every year is they just seem to come up more and more polished. And just a great bunch of kids. It's easy to cheer for them. It's easy to want to spend time around them just because they have this great attitude around them. They're so professional at such a young age, and it's a lot of fun to see how that translates. And Huss has been, a decade and a half now working in junior and now the pro ranks. And again, it is just wild to see how mature these kids come out and when they're 17, 18, 19 years old.
So, Finker, run us down the schedule for the games, when, and again, just to reiterate how people can hear you with the call and see the prospects in action in this tourney in Montreal.
Yeah, so the Jets are going to be taking part in a pair of evening games here. So tomorrow night, it'll be Saturday night in Montreal against the Habs. That's a pretty cool way for these prospects to get things going. The broadcaster, too, is a little psyched about that. But it'll be a good time tomorrow night, 6 o'clock Central. You can catch it at winnipegjets.com. Just keep refreshing right around puck drop, and that link will pop up for you. And then kick it over to Sunday. It'll be another 6 o'clock puck drop against the Ottawa Senators prospects, and looking forward to that one as well before the prospects come home. And then we're on the final days of getting into Winnipeg Jets training camp. So really looking forward to this weekend to get things kicked off. We're going to see players in Jets jerseys on the ice this weekend. The summer is coming to a close, and it's time for some.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, we got a big Bomber game tonight, and focusing on the Jets on the weekend. And then all systems go for training camp next week. Finker, we'll be doing the show live out at the Iceplex on Thursday and Friday. So we'll lean on you for a live in-person visit on one of those days if you're around.
Can fit it in.
Thanks for doing this. Our people will talk to your people. Thank you.
Excellent. I always appreciate those chats.
Have a great weekend.
Later,
great calls in the game. Get those pipes ready. It's back to work, buddy.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, there's Daniel Fink. You can follow him on X at Daniel the Fink, and of course the voice of the Manitoba Moose and the Prospects Tournament this week. All right, well, we had the why not question of the day for not Autocorp but Waverly and McGillivray. It was about tonight's game. Remis asked simply, how confident are you in the Bombers getting it done tonight in Hamilton? And let's see how the people are feeling right now with fan feedback. Brought to you by Fans First, your number one spot for buying and selling Winnipeg tickets on the resale market. Folks, if you go to fansfirst.ca and you're looking at tickets, there are no added fees, period. What you see is exactly what you'll be charged, and it is the number one spot for selling extra tickets. If you haven't, of course, the Bomber games are now on Fans First, which has been helpful, because all the games are sold out. And we've got another game that is already sold out on the 27th of September. So if you're looking for those seats, head over to fansfirst.ca. Well, the question was, how are people feeling going into tonight? Not confident. Tough matchup is number one at 46%. Somewhat confident but nervous, 26%. Just hoping it's close is 16%, and there's 9% of you that are true blue to the core saying very confident. It's Streveler time. Thanks for voting in the poll, and thanks for all of your feedback throughout the show. Of course, fan feedback's brought to you by Fans First, by fans, for fans, no fees. All right, Marbles, registration is open. We'll give you a few minutes to get in on that. And, of course, we had Hacksaw join us yesterday on the program. But today, coming off a fun hour of NFL talk this morning on WST Winners with our Week 2 picks, Jake Bolin Moss from Coolbet pops back in. Jakey, what's up, buddy? Great to fun show this morning, and we got a heck of a weekend coming up.
Jake,
yeah, pretty excited, Huss. Can you hear me all right? Sorry,
oh, yeah.
I took the mic down, not thinking I had to come back on here, even though we chatted about it right after the show. I don't know.
No, you're sounding good.
I got Friday brain. So, yeah, no, I'm fired up, Huss. Big series for the Blue Jays at home against the Orioles, and football right back at it. I'm just tinkering through some of the names that didn't get in the end zone last week. Some of these names, like your guy, Jordan Mason, he's going to be on our touchdown scorer parlay, which is already up. Coolbet combo cards, Jonathan Taylor, Christian McCaffrey, Etienne, Breece Hall. A lot of these guys didn't even find the end zone in week one. So, if you're looking for some value, guys, you think are going to find the end zone, some big names still out there, you have to score a touchdown in week one.
Yeah, we'll hit what we cooked up in the combo cards for people on the WST Winners show. But if you do enjoy talking the games and going through the picks, we've got all of our spread picks, a couple of our favorite props each, a touchdown score. And we've cooked it all up and put a bunch of things in. But I wanted to quickly touch on the Blue Jays for a minute. How about Kevin Gausman yesterday? I mean, a really important game for the Blue Jays to win that series against the Astros at home. And he rolls out and drops a complete game shutout. We don't see those often in the majors anymore. And he's making a case right now for number one starter in the playoffs, despite how good Bieber's looked since joining the Jays.
Yeah, Gosman's had 3 great outings in a row here, Huss. One against the Yankees, one against the Brewers, and one against the Astros. Like, he's not playing these slouch teams, these bottom feeders. He's playing teams in playoff battles. He's playing teams in divisional battles. And it shows yesterday why, they brought him in. Because as the season's progressed, he's only gotten better. 100 pitches, 9 innings, complete game shutout. I think he only allowed 2 hits. He had, one inning where he had a couple guys threatening and was able to get out of it. Besides that, it was very clean. And the defense behind Gosman also played really well. Addison Barger made 2 huge plays down at third base. I thought he's looked good defensively, even when the bat's not going. David Schneider contributing, big time here in the month of September. So, yeah, I'm excited, Huss, as we inch closer to the postseason here. I'm really dialed into this race and what it's going to look like for the Blue Jays. If they come out on top of the AL or one of those top 2 seeds to get that early bye and get the bypass straight to the ALDS.
Very tough pitching matchup tonight. I'm just looking at Coolbet right now. Jays are minus 133 favorites. The Orioles, who have sucked all year, are plus 113. And then you look at the numbers that Trevor Rogers has put up this year, the pitcher that they're facing, 8-2 with a 1.51 ERA. And of course, Bassett, who's had his ups and downs so far, on the bump tonight. So, while I appreciate the fact that the number is better than we had for any of those games against the Houston Astros, they've got their hands full without Bo Bichette going up against a guy that has been maybe the lone bright spot in a Baltimore pitching staff that has really sunk their season.
Yeah, Trevor Rogers, the ace for Baltimore this year. And, Baltimore, they had a really rough start, but they've picked it up big time here over the last few months. It's because of that hole they dug themselves that they're out of this race for the playoffs, but they would have been very much in it if they had played, the brand of baseball they've been playing over the last few months. So, Baltimore's going to be no easy wins, especially with Rogers on the bump today. You'll notice the Jays lineup, which is out now, heavy righties. I think there's one lefty in the lineup, Jimenez down in the 9 hole, but Springer, Schneider, Guerrero, Kirk, Clement, France, IKF, Straw, and then Jimenez. So, a lot of righties here early against the lefty Trevor Rogers. I got my eyes on Davey Schneider tonight. He hits lefties really well, especially at home, and so does Ernie Clement. So I got my eyes on those 2 guys. Chris Bassett, remember as well, also pitches a lot better at home. I don't know what it is, but his home and road splits are much different. He's much better at the Rogers Center. So I think we could see a tight one tonight. Maybe it's an under bet, Haas. I really haven't dove deep into the total just yet.
I'm just looking at the homer numbers. You mentioned David Schneider plus 423, and your boy Big Earn more than 10-1, plus 1029. Might be fun to jump on something like that. Total for the game 7.5, and again Jays minus 133. The one thing that makes me nervous about this, and one of my best friends that is a Jays psycho, flew out yesterday. He's at the games today and tomorrow. I'm like, dude, why did you pick a Baltimore series? Because it doesn't seem to matter what the Orioles' record is. Even when they were terrible at the beginning of the year, the Jays seem to have fits with Baltimore.
Yeah, Baltimore, for whatever reason, just has seemed to give the Jays problems. Even when they're, like you said, when they're really bad, they're still finding ways to beat up on the Blue Jays. So, that's one of their struggles, and hopefully – they can take it some from that home crowd, some of that momentum, some of that energy from the home crowd, and put it into tonight's game and put it into the weekend series, frankly, because a win this weekend, you got the Yankees and Red Sox playing head-to-head this weekend. So, at least one of those teams is going to come out of this weekend with 2 wins, but that means at least one of the teams is going to come out of the weekend with 2 losses. So, you might be in a better situation if you can find some ways to win baseball games this weekend. Like, you find a way to sweep the Orioles or at least take 2 of 3, you might be in a better spot or in the same spot you are right now with 3 less games to play the rest of the way. And there's only 16 games left in the season, Huss. I think I saw today, if the Jays went 9-7 down the stretch, the Yankees would have to go 12-3 and the Red Sox would have to go 13-2 to even catch them. So they're in a great spot right now. But obviously they're still control their own destiny. Got to find ways to win baseball games. Just win series. Not even a matter of sweeping these series. Just find a way to take 2 or 3. If they take 2 or 3 the rest of the way, I think they'll be just fine.
Yeah, in case you're wondering, just pulling up the futures, which are still available at Coolbet. Jays are minus 400 to win the AL East. Yankees are 4-1, and the Red Sox are 11-1. And don't look now. Team I'm actually going to be seeing on Tuesday, the Seattle Mariners have caught up to the Houston Astros, and the Mariners now have a minus 141 favorite, and the Astros plus 140. So lots going on in the majors. Again, folks, get over to the WST YouTube channel or search on the podcast WST Winners and get that feed going because we will do it every Friday throughout football season, 10 a.m. live on Fridays. Myself, Jake, and Pat. And listen, we've got all of our picks. We won't go through all of them. You can check out the show for that. But we did put together hopefully a few winners for the people in the combo cards. And I do really like our WST winners parlay today. And we've screwed with the numbers a little bit. And I think we've got us in a good spot, and it's totally worth it with the boost. Here's our parlay for week 2. The Pittsburgh Steelers at home against Seattle. That number is at 3. We're getting it at 2.5 to ensure a Steelers win and no push. So Pittsburgh at minus 2.5. The Denver Broncos are a 1.5 point favorite right now against the Colts on the road. We've got the Broncos on the money line. And then the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who are 2.5 point underdogs, which I do like on its own. We've actually got another point on that. So Tampa Bay plus 3.5. Now, those 3 picks together, if you were doing it manually, is at plus 432. We've got it up just about up to 5-1 at plus 496 in the combo cards. And then the, I do like our Patriot parlay. We are certainly going to be going heavy in on Minnesota. I couldn't decide between Justin Jefferson and Jordan Mason. Well, I picked Jefferson, then I switched to Mason. Pat was freaked out about that, so he picked Jefferson. But of course, you're hitting leadoff this week, going for the revenge narrative around DK Metcalf in his Steelers home debut, along with Aaron Rodgers going up against his former team, the Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah, listen, I mean, Rodgers had his revenge week last week against the Jets. I know, the relationship there didn't end very well. It was pretty ugly on the way out. And he stuck it to them. 4 touchdown passes. That's a big game for him. I think Rodgers understands, kind of revenge narratives. I don't know if that's a thing. I mean, I look at it as a possible thing. I know we see it happen all the time, but I think Rodgers understands stuff like that. DK got traded to Pittsburgh in the offseason. He's there now. He's Rodgers' number 1 receiver, and I think they find a way to get him in the end zone. So if we can hit leadoff here, Huss, we're going into Sunday night feeling pretty good. Just needing the Vikings to put up some points against the Falcons.
I do love the Vikings in their game this weekend. That's the Sunday nighter. Here's a quick rundown of your NFL lines. The Browns now are 12.5. I think this is too big. I think I have to bet the Browns as well. Plus 12.5.
It's 12.5 now?
Yeah, it's gone to 12.5. It's another full point since we did the show. And it's funny, I was talking with Iwanek earlier on Lock Shop, and he's a Ravens fan. He thinks that there's a chance the Ravens could start 0-4. I think you're a little too rattled from last week's game. I'm not betting on that, but we've all got the Ravens in our survivor pools, so hopefully that doesn't happen. But I could see Joe Flacco keeping this game a little closer than 2 touchdowns. Bengals minus 3.5 at home against the Jags. Cowboys are 5-point favorites at home against the Giants. Russell Wilson is starting again. You got the Lions coming off that beatdown in Lambeau Field in week 1. They're playing the Bears. Bears on a short week. Detroit minus 6. This AL East game, your Patriots 2-point dogs in Miami against the Dolphins. Miami was just so bad. I think I'm going to bet anybody against Miami. Give me the Patriots plus 2. No Brock Purdy for the Saints. It's going to be Mac Jones starting. That's why the Niners are only 3-point favorites against what most people believe is the worst team in the NFL. The Bills are now 6-point favorites. That's come down from 7 earlier in the week in New York against the Jets. Jets did look good in week number 1. We mentioned that Seattle-Pittsburgh game. It is Pittsburgh minus 3. Tennessee Titans, 5.5-point home dogs against the Los Angeles Rams. The Cardinals now, this was 6.5. It's now 7. Cardinals 7-point favorites against the Panthers. The Broncos, as we mentioned, 1.5-point road favorites. They're in Indy to take on the Colts. Colts a home dog. And then the big one, Chiefs, Eagles. Mahomes as an underdog. Look it up, folks. It's good. I am worried about this game. Philly is a hell of a team. But you give me Patrick Mahomes at Arrowhead Stadium as an underdog, I'm taking it every time. Chiefs are even money on the money line and a 1-point underdog. Sunday nighter, Vikings, 3-point favorites right now against the Falcons, minus 115 on the 3. Then we've got Houston, 2.5-point favorites at home against the Bucs. Monday night doubleheader this week, gang. We got a 6 o'clock and a 9 o'clock game. Should be great. Early one, Houston, 2.5-point favorites over the Bucs. And then the Chargers, 3-point. This has actually gone down from 3.5 earlier.
Rat line, Huss. Rat line. We're taking the Raiders because the Chargers should absolutely smoke the Raiders. Why is that only a 3-point line? The Raiders beat the Patriots. They didn't beat the world last week. Well, and there's 3 points. I know it's divisional.
The funny thing is that this
has
gone. I mean, this has been 3.5, and it's been getting lower, and now it's at 3. So beware that game. As I said,
I'm smelling a rat.
Chargers already raised the banner. We talked to Hacksaw yesterday. Raise the banner, week 1 champions of the AFC West. We'll see what happens in week 2. There is some fun things. I always love getting into this. Check out the Sunday week 2 specials. You can pick the highest scoring team, the lowest scoring team, and tomorrow you can also bet who'll have the most rushing yards and receiving yards. Those are always fun ones if you want to make it happen. And, of course, CFL tonight. Bombers are now 7.5-point dogs in Hamilton. BC, 9.5-point favorites tonight. Edmonton, 3.5-point underdogs in Toronto tomorrow. And the Riders, 8-point favorites against the Montreal Alouettes. Jakey, have a great weekend. Enjoy the Jays games, the college football tomorrow, the CFL, and, of course, another NFL Sunday. And I'm already looking forward to next Friday morning. Favorite time of the week, 10 a.m., getting in the lab with you guys and cooking things up. Let's get some winners this weekend.
Yeah, don't take weekends like this for granted, people. A ton of fun stuff to watch. The Blue Jays in a playoff race, in a divisional race, all the football you could ever imagine. Don't take a weekend like this with them.
Hell no. Folks, get over to Coolbet if you haven't played there before. Use the promo code WST if you on your first deposit. Double it up to $200 and make a point of joining us September 24th. Poker is back. Winnipeg Sports Talk Wednesday night poker at Coolbet. We got 4 dates coming up before the new year. The first one is Wednesday, September 24th, 8 p.m. Winnipeg time. Keep an eye out on our socials and Coolbet socials to make sure you don't miss that. Thanks again to Jake for jumping on the program. And again, check out today's WST winners when you have a chance. Before you make your picks for Sunday in the National Football League. I'm going to be away for the first couple days of next week, but Assiniboia Downs is going to be back. We have live racing Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of next week. And again, this is normally the end of the season, not this year. Tuesday and Wednesday racing is going to continue right through till Thanksgiving. But plan to get out. It looks like the weather's going to be really nice early next week. Perfect time for one more trip down to the track with our friends at Assiniboia Downs, 7:30 post time Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday next week. All right, Remo, it is about that time. Marbles time on Winnipeg Sports Talk. We will finish the week. Looks like we've had a lot of people jump in right now. People are fired up and ready to go for the race. See, even Brad Marchand is back. Gotta love it. He's still drunk and full of DQ, but says he'll be ready for the Olympics. Is he ready for marbles? I guess we'll see. But we're not ready for marbles until the legend himself, Tristan Rivers Music, plays us in. So let's fire up the marbles song. We'll see what version Remis has for us today, and then get ready to drop them on a Friday afternoon.
It's Friday! Another week of work's gone by. You deserve to treat yourself, maybe an ice cream cake or a bottle of rye. You want the whole team, so let's you can't deny.
All right, shout out to Tristan. And by the way, we are going to be doing a special raid right after marbles are finished. Tristan, I think, has a new video out. So WSTers, stick around at the end of marbles and let's show some love to our guy Tristan, who, if you check out his at Tristan Rivers on Instagram, pretty studly new promo shot. Great photography, great hat. It oozes rock and roll, as does Tristan when he makes it happen for us. There it is. I mean, look at this. If that's not enough to get you to tune in for a video, I don't know what we have to do here.
Yeah, so stick around after. We'll be rating Tristan. He wanted everyone to know that his band 9 Lives has their music video for Gloomy Tuesday, their first single off their remastered self-titled first album. Comes out on all streaming platforms for the first time on September 26th. There's a Spotify pre-save link in the video description and has links to their social media. So Tristan's, done music for this show, Kenny and Rennie, so let's support him by checking out his video after this.
Absolutely, and you better leave a nice comment. You better give a thumbs up. Well, we're YouTube people. We know what to do. Help Tristan out, but we will do that in a moment. Lots going on in the chat. Brad Marchand's here. Luka Doncic is looking for a no-show job, and everyone is just looking for everyone's just looking for a win tonight in the marble race. Shout out to our friends at Shipman Associates. We are playing for a WST hoodie for whoever comes across and gets into the bin first. Rima, how many marbles are we looking at today?
Oh, man, we got a lot of marbles. 234. I'll close it up. I went through the tracks. First one, I picked a really good track. And that's
beautiful. Add me in if you can, please.
Sure. I'm getting stuff in my X. I don't really comment on stuff on X, but I had to weigh in. It's the Player Media Tour. Greg Wyshynski commented that he talked to all the players there, and seemingly all of them want the playoffs to go back to 1 versus 8. And I think everyone does. And I commented and said, well, they just redid a new CBA and announcing all these changes. Why didn't it change? And James Myrtle just tweeted at me. I feel pretty cool now that James Myrtle is tweeting at me. He says, not a CBA issue. So the dumbest playoff format in sports continues. Anyways,
yeah, no doubt. Jets have just cranked out their, listen, you get that ready to go, Remo. I'll just quickly mention that the training camp roster and schedule has been put out by the Winnipeg Jets. Jets are going to have 6 goaltenders coming to training camp, 18 defensemen, and we know that there's 9 already signed to one-year deals, one-way deals for next season, and 31 forwards, including everyone returning from last year, new players like Gustav Nyquist and Jonathan Taves, and of course a full contingent of players that will be representing the Jets out in Montreal. We just had Dan Fink on. If you popped in late, tomorrow night on winnipegjets.com, a sold-out Bell Center crowd for the Jets and the Habs prospects. It should be a lot of fun. And as far as the training camp schedule goes, it all gets going on Thursday, and we will be live at the Iceplex on Thursday, on Friday, and of course, one of my favorite shows of the year, an additional show will be live from FanFest on Saturday. So make sure to get your tickets for FanFest. If you haven't already, go to the Jets site before they're all gone. The IC guys, I'm sure, as usual, will be doing their show from 9 until 11. And we'll jump on right after Illegal Curve to give you the sights and sounds of FanFest. But looking forward to seeing many of you at training camp. It all gets going with group practices, 9:30 a.m., 11:45 a.m., and 1:30 p.m. 3 groups this year for Winnipeg Jet training camp, and then a very busy day for FanFest, including a scrimmage on one of the rinks on September 20th. But this weekend, we got to look at the prospects before the real thing, training camp, gets going, and the preseason shortly after that. All right, the waiting is over let's get to some marbles here, Remis.
Okay, 236 marbles. I put your name in all capitals. We're going to the Pretty Crazy Bakery. This one looks like a chocolate chip cookie. Check out this track.
Nice.
Yes.
The Pretty Crazy Bakery. And I love these massive funnel starts as well. Good luck to you all. 236 marbles in the hopper. Let's drop them and check out the Pretty Crazy Bakery on a Friday afternoon on WST. Good luck to all. All right, we got this mass of marbles coming into the funnel. And who's coming out first? Platypus Luch. Royal Sports. Nicole J. See our buddy CFL 60 OG in there as well. XX pretty much. All right, we're already seeing a few mines here. And Farmer Brain, Ernie Thiessen, Shania T. Tough one. Oh, Hustler, out. I got bounced right off the bat. Damn it. Well, it's a big win for the guys that I'm head-to-head with. Me, myself, and I, Laurie, Mike Ladarney, all right there in the mix. Danielle Roy, or Roy, in the mix right now. There's Ryan Kebbins. Oh, K9 just got whacked, unfortunately. The Lufa, Platypus Lufa, right now. VR Montenegro, Manny Fran. We're getting a few. This is not an easy one. Oh, Jay Miller, I think, got a bit of a nice. He got bounced up into this next level, and Jay Miller is just sort of scooting along the right side, while everybody else has to deal with the left side of it all. Jay Miller, I think, got a nice bit of a break, and we'll see whether Jay is going to be able to hold on to the lead. Me, myself, and I, and the rest of the chasers coming up into this next funnel, looking to get a little closer to Jay Miller. Lori past Jay, so it's Lori and Jay. Dave Conan, the Cone Dog, what's up? And CFL 60 OG now right in the mix. This is, Royal Sports just got bounced. There are some landmines. Jay Miller after that lead. The course giveth and the course taketh away. Right now, CFL 60 OG is just getting passed by Eric Bayer, and we've got a few more individuals getting thrown over the top rope. Derek McGoran, sorry about that. Dwayne Wilson also just whacked. But this is going to be a tight. The Herbster, Mark Fanasuk, Lori, Danielle Raw, Eric Bayer, all looking to be first. Now, this is going to be interesting. Everyone's getting into the orb. It's spinning around. We'll get some company. Who's going to be the first out, getting shot out of this into the bin? And it looks like it could be Danielle Roy. No, it wasn't. It's, who's that, Remis?
It's Kent Reimer.
Kent Reimer. I don't know what the heck happened to Danielle Roy. There was some sort of a blast that knocked her back. And then Kent Reimer ended up sneaking in for the win.
I think there's some explosives planted by that ramp to the finish. Danielle was first out of the orb, set off cleared out the mines there, and just paved the way for Kent Reimer to get to the finish line in first place.
That is tough for tough for Danielle. He deserved a better fate, but congratulations to Kent for taking the win today. Kent, fire us an email, winnipegsportstalk@gmail.com. Let us know what size you are. We'll hook you up. I'm away for a couple days early next week, but we'll get in touch with you when I get back. We've got Kent Reimer, Lori in second, me, myself, I third, Eric Bayer fourth, Lulu M, Valerie L, The Herbster, Mike Ladarney, iHeart Gaming 9, and Drew Music in at 10. Oh, Amanda got whacked at the end. See, well, some of my great rivals in the marbles game didn't finish either, but I lasted about 5 seconds in today's race. Let's roll down. You can see where you ended up. There's Doug McFadden and Transcona Logan, Mark Amph in the top 15, D-Mart. There's T-Will. T-Will, strong performance today. CFL 60 OG as well. There you see Jet Oil Tom. There's Jay Hay Honor, Bullish Bradley, Jen Cool. What's up, Jen? Good Lock Shopper, Mr. V-Dub, Ryan Kivens. There's Bardo, DJ22. I think just won last week, actually. There's Dan Jets fan, AJ, Edmonton Sports Talk. Maybe that was Iwanek or one of the ops. Shout out to the ESTers. And again, you can any of you lock shoppers, I want you all outside the theater on Tuesday for the Esties with the Justice for the Lock Shop protest, while all the other jokers come in on the red carpet. Justice for the Lock Shop. Here we're going through Shane Payne at the end, Vinny, and CP, the final marble that made it across the line. And then everybody else that got top rope, that got burnt by a landmine, that just got thrown off. A number of you, myself included, in that group. It was a dangerous track. It looked like a delicious track, but it was a difficult track, and many of us, like myself, got banged out over the top rope. Congratulations to Kent Reimer, our winner today on WST. Great week of shows, Remis, and the wait is over. We got hockey this weekend, at least for the prospects, and next week we've got Jets training camp. Looking forward to seeing tons of fans and listeners out on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday at the Iceplex. And looking forward to get going on with hockey season, but not before we have a great weekend. And, of course, this big Chiefs-Eagles game coming up on Sunday that I'll be at.
Yeah, I just saw us. That could be the most watched afternoon NFL game on Fox in a long time. So NFL Week 2 off to a start yesterday. Looking forward to a full Sunday. And, yeah, the double Monday nighter. Love it. So exciting, a really great weekend of football. And also Jays as well. Bomber game tonight. Feeling pretty nervous. I think need a win. You don't want to lose, especially if BC goes ahead of Ottawa right after. So we'll be scoreboard watching two around the CFL.
Yeah, no doubt. Again, condolences to Ted Gavaya's family and everyone that was close to him. He'll be in everybody's thoughts tonight. 6 o'clock, Bombers and Ticats kickoff. And then tomorrow, Jets and Habs prospects, sold out Bell Center. You can check that out on winnipegjets.com. Thanks again to all of our sponsors for making this show happen each and every day. Thanks to everyone that's joining us on YouTube. Much love to all you podcast listeners. Have yourself a great weekend. Remo and Connor will be holding it down for the early part of next week. I will be back, though, in time for training camp to start, to get out to the Iceplex beginning on Thursday with all of you. But in the meantime, CFL 60 is up. We've got the WST winners. Our Week 2 NFL content is up right now at the YouTube channel. And don't forget WST Sunday Live with Connor and Liz on Sunday. They'll be locked into Jets Habs prospects on Saturday. We'll talk about that and much more. But don't go anywhere. We're going to end the stream. We're going to go over and check out our pal Tristan Rivers, the muse, if you will, of marbles, with his new video. Folks, thanks again. Enjoy the Bomber game tonight. Have a great weekend, and join us next week right here on Winnipeg Sports Talk.
Oh, my God! Oh! Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for tuning in to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast feed at winnipegsportstalk.com.